What's going on, Kim? Thank you so much for booking the reading. I really appreciate you trusting me enough to not only look at the map, but give you advice on yourself. That's an honor and a privilege, and it does take a level of trust, it takes a level of faith, and it takes some optimism to do that. So I just want to say I appreciate it. I see that. And I want to thank you for your patience as well. Everything in divine timing. So, man, I am like a work machine. So the reason I do want to say thank you on that note is like, I wished I could have gotten this to you sooner, but divine timing is a thing. Quality over quantity. And I've been going through my own healing journey, and sometimes it's like waves and ups and downs. So I'm feeling really good today, dude. It's a beautiful day. Today is Thursday. It's the day of Jupiter. I already lit my purple candle for the day, had my meditation, spent some time talking to my soul, integrating and doing my healing work and stuff. So just taking it day by day, one day at a time, and it's beautiful. So, man, I'm so excited to connect with your soul. And whether you know it or not, I think you kind of get the gist of this, man, that getting your chart interpreted by an astrologer can actually be a very intimate experience. And while astrology can't cause your life, it absolutely reflects it in every single way, shape, and form. And the problem is we often don't know where to look. But when we know where to look and we get a connection and relationship with our astrology, it gets real graphic, dude, and plays out so literally sometimes. I want to say that to me, as a Virgo rising, as a person with a very sharp mind, I love language. That was like my favorite study in school. And I find that astrology is basically a language of archetypal symbolism. So I've been doing this work professionally for about 2 years now. And, the only way to really learn astrology is to kind of get in there and do it and have that connection with it. And having the pleasure and privilege of reading so many people's charts, I've been realizing that in my life, the more I get into this language of archetypal symbolism, sometimes my mind will just translate things in English. So I just wanted to say that's something to think about, is that astrology can be very graphic and literal sometimes, which is really beautiful, It's an infinite pool of knowledge. And you were forthright and open with your life and what's going on with you. And basically, to summarize what I'm feeling from your journey at this point, is that you are in a state of flux and healing, a liminal space, if you will. You told me that you're going through major transformations, and you're gifted. You want to dive deeper into that and kind of cultivate, optimize, integrate these gifts. You already know you're destined for greatness, and I love that. If you can see that in you, I already kind of know where you are intending to go through this reading, and that really excites me. You told me 2022 was a complete shit show for you, and you got knocked down, but you got built up. A lot of things fell off your plate. You have all this room for activities now. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Step Brothers, but that's like a joke from that movie. But you were kind of telling me that in the midst of all the crisis and the change and all the extracurricular, I don't know if this is extracurricular, maybe just the regular curriculum now that I think about it, those parts of your life, that course has given you a lot of tension and stress. And then you've also developed or experienced some stress-related illnesses, and I know exactly what that's like, dude. Mind over matter, so sometimes your body knocks you down in a physical way to make sure you're paying attention to your emotions and mind. Mind is over matter, but matter is under mind, and it plays out both ways. So you were also telling me that you're experiencing agoraphobia in the midst of having all this time and energy, and you're retired, so you have all these options, dude, infinite possibilities. But at the same time, that's too many possibilities for anybody to take advantage of. So you just kind of have to narrow down and prioritize. But I see where you're at. I see the growth. And I think astrology is going to be a really great thing for you, dude, because it really gives you an objective way of seeing yourself. And this is going to put everything in the world in a proper perspective for you. But I do want to say more power to you on your healing journey. We charge and consecrate this incense. It's road opener. We charge and consecrate our road opener incense with the energy of Jupiter and Sagittarius to bring expansion and meaning and confidence and growth into your life on all levels. So mote it be. And my Jupiter's in the 7th house, so I will say that I'm going to benefit off of this growth too. So thank you so much for having this experience with me, because without you, there is no this. And because getting your chart interpreted by an astrologer can be a pretty intimate experience, my friend, it's only right and fair that I level that playing field a little bit and share a little bit about me, so you know where I'm coming from and what's brought me here on this part of my journey. And we're invoking the element of fire to bring in that Sagittarius energy. So my name is Mark. I'm 24 years old at this time and space in this life. And I'm an old soul for sure. I think sometimes it takes one to know one, you got to be one to see one. And I can see in your chart that it's not your first rodeo, dude. So I want to say that whether it means anything to you or not, I'm going to lay it all out on the table. Feel free to psychoanalyze me to the best of your ability, should you want to, if that sounds like fun. Astrologically speaking, my sun sign is in Leo. I'm an 11th house sun. My moon is in Libra in the 2nd house. I've got my ascendant in Virgo, like I said. And at 17 degrees, that makes Mercury my chart ruler. Leo in the 12th house. My Venus and my Mars are in Cancer in my 10th. My Jupiter is in Pisces in the 7th. I've got my Saturn in Taurus in the 8th house. I've got Chiron in Scorpio in the 3rd house. I've got Uranus and my Neptune in the 5th house of Aquarius. And I've got Pluto and Sagittarius in my 3rd house. And my North Node is in Virgo, just like somebody else I know, in the 12th house. And I've got my South Node in Pisces in the 6th house. And like I said, I'm an old soul. I think a lot of people with South Node Pisces can kind of relate through their own experiences in life. And to summarize my 24 years from birth to becoming a full-time astrologer, I will tell you that it's been a long series of existential crisis and existential dread, and then unfulfilling jobs and work that left me despondent and confused and living in cognitive dissonance because the pain, suffering, traumas, and trials and tribulations of my life didn't quite match or meet the service and the effort that I was putting into this world. And what that means simply is that, you know, as a person who has a lot of enthusiasm and focus and a will to serve, I could really excel at most of the things that I applied myself to. But at the same time, growing up as a kid, I had all this curiosity and all this interest as an old soul, all this intuitive understanding of the world. So I wasn't necessarily enthused with the same path everybody had taken because of the familiarity and the boredom that I had with it. And I was always told as a kid, you know, I'm a well-rounded individual, so I can do literally anything with my life. And as a Libra moon, the indecision that innately comes with that, man, that was too much pressure for me. So I kind of grew up without a direction. I didn't really know what I wanted to do because I kind of wanted to do everything. I digress. I have midheaven Gemini. So it's like, I still want to do everything. I have an open mind and I'm curious to learn. And this being said, lacking direction, after high school, I really just got full force into working a entry-level job because I really have, I think, still certain problems with authority. Every problem comes with solutions, I'll say, but you know, I didn't really like school. I didn't like being told what to do. I didn't like going through the hoops, man, because at the same time, I didn't see the purpose of it, you know. I also saw the lack of optionality that my teachers had, and I'm like, why am I listening to people with lives I don't even want to live like? And that just doesn't make sense to me, you know? So, oh man. That being said, I didn't go to college. I didn't follow any traditional route that anybody else had put in front of me. I went full force into working a service job around 18, and you know, while I could excel and make a lot of money and get good reviews and build rapport with all my clients and do really well, even with, you know, my bosses and my coworkers, and put on a happy face, I just knew that because of the pain that I experienced in my life, it just really, I wasn't serving to the best of my ability. And when I talk about the pain I experienced, like most, I don't want to say most people, that's a little too exaggerated, but like a lot of people, I'm the product of divorced parents. And if you ever heard that stat about marriage, you might actually relate, because I know that you told me that you've had to separate with a couple people recently, not only your children's father, but also your sister. So I also see, again, that liminal space and all this area for growth, you know. But, you know, I didn't have healthy love modeled to me as a child. And I also kind of grew up in two different households. So I was literally bouncing back and forth between my parents every single week. And being the youngest of three children with a Saturn in Taurus, like, I kind of unconsciously felt like I caused the divorce because I didn't have enough time with either of my parents, and I watched them both kind of struggle in the rat race as a middle-class family with two different households. Like, basically, the cooperation we had was that one day of the week when we would send the kids back and forth, and apart from that, it just felt like I got a single dad and I got a single mom, and I'm watching both of them struggle, and I feel like I'm a financial burden and liability, and maybe even the cause of the divorce. So I grew up in a lot of abandonment, a lot of neglect, and because of the paradigms and fear that I had about this as a very young child, my experiences with my parents actually caused me to or my interactions with them, it caused me to experience a lot of rejection from them, even when it wasn't intended from them. And that was really terrible, man. So I internalized a lot of heartbreak, a lot of sadness, and I was very shy and reserved, man. You hear that Leos are confident and bold and expressive, and I was the furthest thing from that. I promise you, man. The furthest thing from it. I grew up really upset with myself, having a genuine lack of belonging, and really just feeling like I was a burden and a waste of space with no value, dude. Like, no cap. That's Saturn and Taurus in the 8th house, but as above, so below. So hey, it gets worse, but then it gets better. Let me tell you that while I kind of felt confused and neglected by both of my parents, I felt the same way from the universe and God, because I was really indoctrinated into two different belief systems. I was given lukewarm Catholicism, which is like, go to church, pray, confess your sins, take the communion, don't ask any questions, walk by faith, don't walk by sight. And then on the other hand, I got to see the other part of my family tree be Wiccan, neo-pagan, Gnostic. So I had all these hoops and rings and terms and conditions to abide by, but life itself showed me I didn't have to do that. So I internalized all this guilt and all this shame and all this fear about not doing it. I didn't want to go to hell. But at the same time, I used to sit there in my bed late at night and think about the universe and think about going to the Christian idea of heaven. And this used to terrify the fuck out of me, because there's no freedom there. Experience a world full of your desires forever. And this is all it is. And it's so good, you don't want anything else. On my 3rd house Pluto, that sounds like a bunch of demons to me, quite honestly, But I don't come here to I do come here to unindoctrinate people. I'm gonna be quite honest, quite literally. That's a big part of my journey as a soul. So that being said, my life lacked meaning. My life lacked purpose. I felt confused. I felt like life was a cruel, sick joke, because the box that I was imposed upon through my inheritance was needlessly restricted, weak, and the parameters were given to me by people that didn't really understand the meaning of them. Again, they just walked by faith, and I'm a firm proponent. Like I said, the gist of what I was trying to say is that I don't come here to project my beliefs onto anybody. I don't want anybody to believe a damn word I say, because I want this to be logical, to the point where you can figure this shit out to yourself, man. Belief is a filter you impose upon your reality. So when you believe things you've never experienced, you start experiencing things that you've never believed. And that can actually throw your life for a loop and put you out of the driver's seat. So that's kind of why I wanted to say, I'm not here to project or tell you what to do, but I just will say that I had to fight for my mind to get myself free. So that in itself really made me pretty confused. But as my suffering kind of intensified over those years, late adolescence, I think I hit rock bottom, but this really slingshotted me up to the mountain, and the pain that I was internalizing and sheltering from the emotional traumas and also the mental and spiritual traumas, I really just kept running from it. And after I got into drug addiction and formed some bad relationships and really just lost sense of all my priorities, I got to the point where divine intervention happened. I was able to see through a near-death experience that my trajectory was fucked up, dude. I had gotten addicted to most drugs that most people can name, plus a few that other people can't name. Being too smart for your own good. I used to buy Bitcoins in 2012, and I figured out how to spend those on the internet for whatever the fuck, dude, quite honestly. So I fell in love with escapism. I fell in love with running. And then after getting to see my life from the perspective of outside of my body and seeing what I was going through, I think I was on the K-hole in ketamine, quite honestly, for like the first time, but I'd also gotten off like a week-long bender of opiates and stimulants, and I got to see that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm gonna end up either dead or in jail, and there's gonna be no other option, so I gotta clean my fucking act up. And Spirit also hit me with the, hey, if not now, then when? Everything is energy, so you're gonna run and run and run, and then you're going to get tired, and then you're going to have to face it, and then you're going to have to deal with all that lost time and make up for that. So I was like, oh shit, man. So in my late adolescence, right before, I think I was probably 18, I remember I had quit my job all in one day, broken up with this girl, wasn't a healthy relationship, very codependent, very toxic, and I'd also threw my last Xanax pill out the window like that same day. And with most of these points in my life, those 3 pillars, relapse is part of recovery. So I went and I got to, go through the motions and learn. But making the decision to heal as opposed to escape made the world of a difference, man. My will to heal got stronger than my will to escape. And I really just committed myself to going through it rather than getting away from it. And one of the most impactful things that I found was Reiki healing, getting a Reiki attunement. And this in itself is a healing modality that you can direct through your hands and connect you to the love of the universe. And as above, so below. You relax the physical with it, it relaxes the emotional, relaxes the mental, relaxes the soul. Literally, no exaggeration. So I started having leverage for my emotional pains, and I started tapping more love and started finding real substance rather than fake artificial highs and things of that nature. I started having to be more honest and accountable to myself. And as I'm working on my emotional pains and my mental health and working as hard as I can, I'd even tried various entrepreneurial pursuits to try to rectify that existential dread I got through not being able to serve. And also just the fact that I had suffered through so much and brushed up with death so close through the 8th house Saturn so many times. I just felt like I need to do something to give back to life. I don't know what it is, but if I start a business, this can be a vehicle for purpose. And it took me quite a while to get something of substance running, but in the pursuit of my Reiki journey, as above, so below. So I started working on my mentality and my mind and studying philosophy, mythology, religion, even going deeper into the parameters I was indoctrinated into, because I starve for wisdom and thirst for knowledge, and I need to understand my place in the universe. And no matter what I was looking through, even different forms of psychology, it all points back to Earth and the fact that we start here and we're flying through space at incomprehensible speeds. And if we pay attention to things, we can look at patterns, Even if none of this makes any sense or has any meaning, Earth and space is kind of like the objective starting point to live on the universe. At least in this realm, I should say. But that being said, I found out about my natal chart, and this really gave me a tool to see myself objectively, and that in itself put everything into proper perspective. It gave me a way to be able to connect to myself physically so I could understand my interaction with the world and others in the world. And this put the ball in my court. This empowered me with responsibility. And also, because of being a confused, old, tired-ass soul, this really was a natural adaptational mechanism to my existential crisis. And this really came naturally to me because of how bad I needed it. And you may have also heard that the fastest way to learn something is to teach it to other people. And I've also experienced that through astrology. I'm a 7th house Jupiter Libra moon, by the way. If I haven't told you before, that I love people and I want to know everything there is to know about people, because I learned something about myself through these people too. Everybody has something to teach me, and I love to learn constantly. So it just got more and more fulfilling, and I realized I was good at it. So I was underselling myself for like $5 chart readings, maybe $10 chart readings. And then in 2020, I was already about 3 years into various entrepreneurial pursuits that were really bearing no fruit, and I was getting frustrated and fucking tired with this shit, man. And hey, this is kind of funny. Uranus card. This is this is Uranus on the other side. Right around this time, I was going through my first Uranus square. I was 21. I was going through my third Saturn square, and you'll get there. It's kind of more intermediate, but I was going through this major life transit, all this pressure psychologically at 21, and I had no job because the pandemic just took it, and I was already trying so many things, throwing the damn spaghetti at the wall for the business. It's not sticking to the cabinets and shit. I'm like, what the hell? And after I was furloughed, I realized that it was time to start writing a curriculum. Even whenever I had, because I'm focused and I love to optimize. So as a new chart reader, I knew that there was a limit to how many charts I can read in a day. I only have a certain number of hours. So basically, I got in motion writing an astrology book. I self-published this book, and this in itself set in motion the chain reaction of events that let me become a full-time astrologer. So that being said, this work fills me with joy. It fills me with life and meaning. And I know that at the end of the day, I get to touch people's souls and I get to change them forever. I used to hate it whenever I'd go to work and do my best and even get paid a lot and realize that it's not enough and I will be forgotten about the work that I'm doing. And even my job as a server could probably be replaced by a robot. Maybe not as much hospitality, but things of that nature. So the work I do will far outlive me because I have tapped purpose. And if anything, I would just summarize that my life in general is a testament to the transformative power of purpose. That evolution is a very real thing, and if we meet it head on with love, truth, and willingness, we're gonna open doors to worlds we never even assumed possible. It's gonna stretch our imagination, and this in itself is gonna, again, when you stretch the imagination, first of all, the expanded mind can't shrink, and second of all, this puts you in a new entire world where other things that were previously impossible become possible. So that in itself is really beautiful. I just want to say, if I can give you a fraction out of what I get from astrology, from this reading, you are going to get a whole lot and your life will never be the same. And my sole intention with this reading is to help you embody your divine will. Mars, Pluto, hey, and Neptune came out too, talking about your Pisces. So I have a decently comprehensive reading. My intention before I go any further is to give you the most meaningful information possible at this time and space, to be able to expand this understanding inside of your being as long as you live. And I have already called upon your guides in spirit, and I open myself to receive their guidance and suggestion to assist you with your divine will, because nobody knows you like yourself, and this is what makes me a firm proponent that everybody needs to be their own astrologer in some way, But yeah, it's about time you connect with your soul. It's not to say that that's something you haven't done before, because that's what we all do always. But let's go deeper. Let's go deeper, Cancer Sun. We're going to get familiar with how the chart works. I'm going to put the ball in your court. I'm going to help you see yourself and build a relationship with this chart, because this is a map, quite literally. You've had this since the minute of your birth. And if you ever get lost in your journey, you can always refer back to the map. That's the important thing that I cannot stress or emphasize enough. So, thank you for listening to my story, my long drawn out introduction. I am in the process of my journey of trying to master the art of storytelling, because stories contain a lot of power and meaning. So I just want to say thank you for listening to mine. The only way I can really get better at that is to do it. So, hey, look at you. You did this, dude. Look at you, Kim. This is the two-dimensional diagram of the 3D celestial sphere at the moment of your birth. So while you're looking at a circle, you may want to think about a globe or a beach ball, and that's really what we're looking at. Let's take a second to familiarize ourselves with the parts of this chart just so we know what we're looking at. When you see the red glyphs in this wheel, these are going to be indicative of the celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, the planets, or even mathematical points that we can calculate in the zodiac in our solar system. And these are the components or the parts of you, your being, as above, so below. And what I mean by that is you're a solar system, dude. Your body is a system that your soul made to incarnate, and that's as simple as it gets. So the blue glyph right next to the red one is the zodiac, and every year the ecliptic, which is the line from the earth through the sun, this line touches 12 patterns of stars, and that's the wheel we're looking at, okay? And every planet going around the sun is also going to be in front of one of these patterns, and this is going to show us the quality of energy they imbue. And the planet was the what, the sign is the how. And when you look at where these planets are dispersed, whether they're on the top horizon or the bottom hemisphere, the left part of your chart or the right in the west or the east, this is going to show you, geographically speaking, from where you were born, which was in New Orleans, right in the middle. Where are we finding these in the sky physically? Metaphysically, this is going to show you where in your life you're going to perceive these actually playing out, the where, okay? And then this inner wheel that looks the messiest is really under what conditions and how these manifest. This is geometry. We're basically just measuring any 2 points, and we're going to get a number, and the number itself is going to give us ideas of how it's going to work out. And this is your unalterable past. And if we look at this with rationality and some intuition, we're going to be able to intuit your probable future result. But you have to do it with strong intuition and also some objectivity, understanding that there's nothing good or bad about your chart. Sometimes your expectations can create your reality, your law of assumption, and that's the most true law to really work with, quite honestly, the law of assumption, that you really manifest what you believe to be true rather than what you want or need. So that in itself is something to think about. But either way it goes, I don't want you to judge. You have to judge this chart because that's how the left brain works. But I just want to say, rather than thinking about things as good or bad, maybe consider them as smooth or rough, or just get an idea of how these spectrums can work, and then you can try to find some equilibrium and balance within these things. Okay, so basically, what I think is kind of interesting about your chart before we go any further is that your planets are kind of splayed all around the chart. You have a splay pattern. So roughly speaking, before I kind of talk about what I think about this, let me lead you up to seeing it, is that the first 6 houses of the chart, which are underneath the horizon, really represents the more self-referential part of the character pertaining to who you are and how you refine your world inner-wise. And then 7 through 12, those top houses, top of the chart, really indicates the part of ourself that exists beyond us in the world outside of us and our interactions with people and things of that nature. And it's the more extroverted part of our character. So pardon me, when you go left, right, you'll see that the planets on the left are going to be ascending or rising. Same thing with the stars, and this is going to indicate the more initiative and driven part of our character, whereas the right is going to be setting and more lending itself to the passive and reactive part of our nature. And in the quadrants, the first one is broadly called the quadrant of self, second being the quadrant of our environment, the third being the quadrant of our relationships, and the fourth being the quadrant of service. Okay, and if you want to further define these things through like Google or the book, all this information is readily available. I could talk your ear off all day, but again, want to keep you on the meaningful info, like yourself, your values and money, your communication, your home and privacy and emotions, your creativity, your work, job, focus, skills, relationships, desires / shared resources, philosophies, beliefs, career, legacy, calling, aspirations, goals, wishes, friends, associates, and then dreams, unconscious, universe. Like, it's everything in life will literally be shown in this chart. There's not a single thing in life that's not going to be shown in the chart, I promise you. So that being said, you got planets everywhere in every quadrant. Oh my. So what does that mean? To me, this tells me that you're a pretty balanced person and you kind of have this versatile energy within your character. And as a consequence, you may kind of be pulled in multiple different directions in life often, and really have a thirst for exploration and pursuing various different interests. And this is going to say off the rip that consistency is going to be a theme of your life and a big key for you to really prioritize and make priority your priority. Oh yeah, that's something to think about. Make priority your priority, and then also try to develop some strength in the areas of your greatest weaknesses, okay? That in itself is going to be highly impactful for you. And also, with this being splayed around the chart, this says that you could be kind of ambiverted. This says that you may need a lot of interaction with others in the world outside of you to feel fulfilled as a person, but at the same time, you probably need a lot of alone time, a lot of privacy, and a lot of space that's totally yours just by yourself to be able to separate you from others so you really know what is going on. So also, I see that you got your sun and your moon and a lot of those personal planets on the right, which basically says to me that, you probably do look to people in life and the world itself to give you a sense of direction before you take action. But at the same time, you've got all these planets to the left, even your Mars on the left too, which kind of tells me that, pardon me, you feel in control and you feel like it's your job to control your destiny and call the shots and move the boat. And also, I see that you're very focused on refinement of yourself and your character with the planets in the second quadrant and making sure that you direct your energy in an appropriate way. And on the other quadrant, top left, I see that you have a big concern for life in the big picture, and you probably take on a lot of projects and goals for their own sake. And this in itself is going to be highly rewarding and maybe even manifest as you attracting a lot of recognition in your chosen career. Whether or not that's important to you is another story, but that is just what it is. You're a striving individual that does truly aim to serve, and I see that in your houses. So on another note, we can look at the chart through the 4 elements, and this is one of the most comprehensive and meaningful ways to look at anything in life because in theory, it takes all 4 elements to manifest anything. Even the water you physically drink has a component of fire and air. So when we talk about fire, this really lends itself to the more impulse part of ourself, the enthusiasm, the drive, and the will. When we talk about water, this is the emotions and the feelings and the empathy and the intuition. The air is the realm of abstract thought, communication, ideas, the mind, you can call it broadly. And then the earth element is the body. And this is really going to concern itself with the material and the physical and the visceral 5 senses of the body as well. And I like to kind of go highest to lowest to kind of show you how you are correlated. And keep in mind, the reason I do this is for balance. So you can really try to build a relationship with these elements and yourself, and then make sure that you don't get lost in any one of the four. Because you need all four to manifest the fifth one, which is the quintessence of the elements, spirit. Okay? Yeah, buddy. So you got a bunch of water, man. May you never thirst, my friend. I see that you have all this Cancer energy. You got Neptune, Scorpio. You got Pisces and Chiron in the South Node in Pisces. I don't know if I said that right, but either way it goes. You got a grand water trine, my friend, and this tells me that you are sensitive as all F. You are gifted as who knows, as a what, but you are gifted as, for sure. All right, Mercury, come on now. You are gifted, my friend. You have a keen sense of empathy, and you really do take on a lot from your environment and the people within it in the emotional realm. And this really speaks to me as somebody who lives a very rich life. And when we talk about things being enriched, it really means it contains a lot of ingredients. So the inner world for you is layered and deep and complex and multifaceted, and you have keen psychic perceptions and a lot of intuition. It's just strongly developed. So that's a grand water trine, having strong psychic gifts. And this is going to say that you've developed a lot of them, but I guarantee that there's also going to be plenty of gifts that you still need to work on cultivating in this life. And when you understand the water element on a deeper level, you're going to realize that this is just our sense of boundaries. It's the thing that fills the cup. So understanding your sense of boundary and self is going to really help you connect with the world even more deliberately. That in itself is psychic attunement. And this is going to require you to drink a lot of water, quite literally, to make sure you're circulating your emotions and your feelings. And, this tells me that in the heart, in the emotions, it's probably never a dull moment. And you always got something going on or pulling you towards comfort or security or leading you by desire. These emotions are strong and they compel you. And it's just going to be really important that you master the art of processing your feelings and dealing with them. And as a fourth house moon, a Cancer, all this stuff, water on the ascendant, man, this tells me that kind of wear your heart on the sleeve, and it's really not up to you to feel your feelings. They just kind of hit you. So it's just important that you really recognize the transient nature of all your emotions and have the will to connect with them, because having a lot of water in your chart and this being your highest element says that it may also dominate your chart every now and then, and you may kind of feel emotionally overburdened or over encumbered with the stuff that you're feeling. And this is going to say that you're just going to have to take your time and know your limits and really process them as you can. And like I said, have enough water, get enough rest, have enough time by yourself, but also you're going to need to maybe journal, introspect, and connect with your feelings and even the hard emotions that you don't want to feel. Like, take time to meditate and take time to sit with your frustration, sit with your stress, sit with your pain, sit with your anger, sit with your jealousy, resentment, all these things. And this is going to lead you to being a more whole person. That in itself is the process of shadow work. Okay, and anything suppressed is going to get distorted, so it's imperative you meet your unconscious in this life, because it can direct us a lot when we have a lot of water in the chart. I mean, in a weird way, Carl Jung is the one I think who said that if you don't get familiar with your unconscious, it'll direct your entire life and you will call it fate. Okay, so be mindful of that. So when you think about the earth element in your chart, so before I go to this, Spirit was trying to tell me that hey, with you having all this empathy and all this love in your life, this is really the core of your being. Is the highest manifestation of the water element is unconditional love. So you have so much of this powerful holy grail juice inside of your heart, dude. So you're gonna need to make sure you surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with really loving and compassionate people who show up for themselves so they're capable of showing up for you, okay? Yeah, buddy, because what we do for ourselves is what we wish for the world and vice versa. So let's get into the earth element. You have a lot of earth, my dude. Whew. I like this. I wish I ended up this way, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that's the one I lack, because I digress. It's about you. But hey, dude, you got all this earth. It's like an earth trine, isn't it? Is it not? It looks like it. But either way it goes, this tells me that you're very gifted in the logical and deductive realm. You're very practical and thorough and precise and calculating in the way that you approach life. And you may have this attitude that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it's really important for you to cross your T's and dot your I's and look before you leap. And, this in itself is going to mean that you're very security oriented and very risk averse. And this is going to mean that you need a lot of comfort, and you do assure yourself safety through the calculating method of how you set up your life. But at the same time, what you're going to need to be careful of with these two elements being, the feminine ones and being security oriented, is that missed opportunity could actually hurt you a lot worse than mistakes ever could sometimes. You can't get rid of risk entirely, so it's only imperative that you calculate your risk and understand your priorities, and then make those relentless, unapologetic, and fearless investments in yourself, dude. Mark my words, man, that's your ticket. Because, this tells me that, again, you're a very thorough person. You got all this air in your chart, but what's up with your, you got all the earth in your chart. What's up with your air? Not as much air. And I see that you have Gemini moon, and it is the moon, though. The moon is one of our most powerful planets. And I do want to digress and just say that it's a little bit deeper than this. Like the houses even have air components, like the 3rd, 7th, and the 11th. These have air, and technically even the sun has some air if you really think about it. But I digress. I needed you to hear that, but back to our regularly scheduled programming. This tells me that, especially with this being your moon, you probably have no shortage of new ideas, and the earth does make you a calculating individual, but it's going to be really imperative that you clarify your thoughts in this life. And also, like I said, make a priority of priority, because this one placement, even specifically the moon, tells me that you're a very fast person and you think a lot. And, with you predicating your life on a high level of stimulation, you may kind of overburden yourself with busyness every now and then, or be too high strung, too nervous, So having a balance in your life between the chase and the pursuit and the grind, or the learning and the development, and then balancing that with those predictable patterns or those activities that you can just meld into without forethought or mental stimulation, this is going to make a cathartic release of a lot of that dynamic tension that you hold yourself on. And also, it's going to be important that you make a practice of implementing your most powerful ideas, and that in itself will be assisted by your fire element, which is also pretty high. But again, balance is the key, right? You're going to need to make sure that you sort through these ideas and make it a practice to act on the most meaningful one, and maybe even use that journal or organize the notes app in your phone so you can externalize ideas from your mind and then put them into practice as soon as possible. Not everything needs to be acted on, and that's why priority is going to be a really high superpower for you. I really want to call it a superpower. And when we talk about the fire element, you got Jupiter in Sagittarius and you got Pluto in Leo. And these are pretty powerful planets, my friend. So make no mistake. Again, the theme is finding balance and equilibrium between these things. But at the same time, if this is one of your lower elements, it does speak to me that, based on these placements, you're a very striving and enthusiastic and driven person, and very purposeful. And you really do have a lot of enthusiasm to connect with life itself. But you're going to need to make sure that you maintain that enthusiasm and positive attitude and really understand your scope of vision in this life. I'm asking you, what is your why? And that's a really broad question for all of us to really think about and put into practice ourselves. But if that's too much, the question you do well to ask yourself, Kim, is what do I want to be remembered for? And this in itself is going to help you understand the energy that you want to exemplify. And that's also going to show you how to act it out in practice. Okay. And then you're going to be able to stop setting the bar so much higher than your ability to reach it that you defeat yourself before you start. And that in itself can be a big problem because of all this earth and this water. You have strong sensual desires, and you really do care for a lot of comfort, security, or material abundance, whatever that means to you. And that in itself means that with this fire, sometimes you can lack clarity and direction, fire and air being low. So that being said, you're going to need to make sure that you're calculating and precise, and that you set your bar no higher than your ability to reach it, or limbo under it, depending on the game, and just stay consistent. And really be clear about your priorities. I cannot stress that enough, dude, because when priority is the number one priority, everything sorts itself out through divine integration and leverage. Mark my words, dude, and think about it, But this being said, make sure you keep your why at the forefront of your mind, having fire being one of your lowest elements. And also, I want to say that you're going to need quick victories to maintain your sense of excitement and enthusiasm, because, you're a dreamer and you really hold yourself to high standards and stakes. And this being said, if you cannot appreciate your small wins, man, you are not even going to enjoy those big victories when they come. Mark my words. So I got to ring the Pluto chime for that, man.
Take in that soul evolution, man. I want you to celebrate every one of your wins, no matter how small or unimpressive it seems to you, because when you show up and put your effort in, you're doing the right things, man. And if that doesn't get acknowledged by you, how is it going to get acknowledged by other people in the world if you're on that frequency yourself? So I hope I'm talking to your soul, because that was my intention. So let's talk about the ascendant in this chart and know that this is the constellation rising over the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth, relative to the space of your birth. And we're reading this chart like a book, and this is the cover of the book. And this is something to think about. You were born in this chart, and you were just being, thinking, just doing nothing but being. And this is going to mean that this was the first energy, 6 degrees Pisces, that you felt off the moment of your birth. And this set in motion the chain reaction of events that led you right here. Right here. Fucked up, dude. Do we have free will? I'm playing with your mind, but we do. We definitely do. And that you chose to get here. But hey, man. That line gets a little blurry sometimes, especially as a Pisces rising. So let's get into this and just understand that while this point is literally symbolic of the birth itself, it does build up your character, your personality, your traits. And it also shows some themes of how your body may even look somehow as well. But more importantly, this is the astral body, the emotional body, all the aura, and like it's your energy speaking broadly. And you having Pisces on the ascendant, pardon me, tells me a lot about you, dude. First of all, this tells me that you are freaking sensitive. Again, this is water. And this tells me that you're soulful and deep, and you kind of see yourself as the entire universe, my dude. You know on some level, instinctively, that you are everything in being and everything in non-being in existence. And this in itself is highly exciting, inspiring, mesmerizing, motivating sometimes, but diametrically can also be somewhat disillusioning and confusing because, you know, again, you take on so much from your interactions with others, and sometimes it's hard for you to understand where you start and stop, you know, because again, you know deeply that it's everything. This is the last sign of the zodiac, and it really does carry some of the qualities of every sign before it. You know, just knowing that it's the last sign in itself is a symbol of the meaning of how this plays out. And this is going to tell me that unconditional love is something that really just speaks through your soul, and you really want to give so much joy and life and love to these people in this world because you're a strong empath. And that's not something for the weak. People don't talk about how hard that is. The fact that you feel everything in the motherfucking universe, dude. You understand the source of people's greatest pleasures and their highest meaning, but you also diametrically understand what causes their suffering and their pain and their traumas, and also, you know, where their hopelessness and strife comes from as well. So you take great pains in this life to make sure that the people in your life feel appreciated and loved and supported and nurtured. And, you know, that in itself is pretty deep, man. I want to say before I switch to the other axis that you have a deep, soulful nature, and you love to play and you love to create, and you really have this musical talent and this divine rhythm that courses throughout you. And this is really an amazing thing, man. You notice the beauty in life, and a lot of this comes through, again, that sadness, that willingness, sometimes not even a willing, I mean, this is technically God's will if you want to define it through that, but like, because you chose this before you got here, right? But to think about the fact that you are in this being that feels motherfucking everything in life, and with you having love sitting deep in your core, you're able to take this pain and sadness and really give practical service to people, whether that's through creativity or whether that's through, you know, acts of service or diligence or being of use in some practical way. So, you know, this is deep and meaningful, I want to say. And to get some more understanding about this, you got to look to the descendant, the sign opposite the ascendant, which is setting at the time of your birth. And this is going to show you literally how you meet the world. Think about that. And this is also going to show you how you meet people in the world, how you form your relationships. And the sign placement of the descendant is going to show you the quality of relationships that you form in this life, as well as how and why you seek these relationships out. And with Virgo, the sign of service on this descendant, man, this tells me that, you know, you really want to show up to the best of your ability in this world. And with you being so deep, it only makes logical sense that you kind of feel like the universe looks through your eyes, and this consequently makes you feel like God is always watching. And this makes a healthy fear of God, sometimes an unhealthy fear of God. And that in itself, yeah, I'm telling you, dude. Yeah. So you really take great pains to show up to the best of your ability, and really, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, man. You kind of self-critical. And at the same time, I do know that, you are very discriminating in your interactions with other people. Not only do you try to show up the best of your ability, you expect, service and reciprocity from other people. And sometimes it doesn't play out that way because Pisces rising can tend to idealize the people that they're involved with because you're so imaginative and soulful to the point where sometimes a relationship may not actually contain any practical value, but your imagination and willingness to sacrifice towards that imaginary dream world can far outlive the practical use and service of these relationships, And Pluto on the 7th has already taught you some about that too. So really, it's just important that as a 7th house Virgo, you understand that your self-esteem in this life is innately going to come from your ability to be recognized and, see yourself as useful and helpful. And it's going to be imperative that you really address issues of codependency so you create relationships that are useful. And you're going to have to be specific, discriminating, and willing to reject, things that do not serve. And also, you're going to need to feel good about yourself too, because at the same time, you are the universe. And what I'm trying to tell you by this is that as a Pisces rising, you don't have to seek outside of yourself for anything. Because if you can go within yourself, change your imagination and your core assumptions and paradigms about life itself, you will be in a completely different frequency, and then you will see the world in a different light, and then you will attract all different things. I just want to say that you're the type of person that can sell yourself short in love because of guilt and shame that you impose upon yourself. And that's a motherfucker, dude. So I just want to say that I hope you're stretching your sacral chakra out, hitting that upward dog, that cobra pose, drinking kombucha, doing like a colon cleanse every now and then. Virgo rules the stomach, the gut brain, things of that nature. Let me tell you, dude, I'm a Virgo rising. I lived this energy my whole life, and I just know that you you take great pains to serve to other people, but I just need you to understand if you don't show up for yourself before you show up for other people, you're not even showing up for them, and then you show up for nobody, and that in itself kind of sucks because then we can kind of feel like we're martyring ourselves and not even being recognized for it, and sometimes it's because we didn't need to be on that cross either, so that in itself is a motherfucker. But I do want to say that this is again why I'm telling you that you need to be recognizing all of your victories and all of your achievements and the ways that you serve, because it starts with you, my dude. It starts with you. And you got all this love. I hope you're giving yourself a sip of your cup before you pour that out for everybody in the world. So let's get into aspects to these points, because these are going to show different qualities of our character that we wish to share, and they're centrally linked with our being. And other people are going to perceive this through these as well. So first thing I'm seeing is that as a Pisces rising and a Cancer sun, this is a trine. This is that blue triangle. And this is roughly 120 degrees. And this means that you're really, with the sun, a shiny, sunny, warm person, a bold, charismatic, exuberant being who just loves to exist. You love to live. You're like an aloe vera plant, and that's really beautiful. Just striving, and you really have this buoyant spirit and this bubbly personality, and it's just warm and uplifts the room. And you may also attract a lot of attention because of this. I don't know if that's true. And as a Pisces, sometimes you might like to be secretive and avoid the attention, but I feel like, when it's the right kind of attention and loving and praising and appreciative, you'd be willing to soak that in and just take it in, because consequently, diametrically, I should say, you really are all the eager to give that energy off as well, because, you do take on so much through your interactions with people. So with you just choosing to be loving and yourself and confident and appreciative of who you are, man, your life will naturally become fulfilling with other people just because of how much fun you are. Because as a person who has this, well-defined personality, shining yourself gives these people this unconscious and even an unspoken ticket of permission to be who they are. And this makes them feel free and unjudged and, accepted. And this in itself is going to make them more appreciative of you. And then also, these people are going to vicariously just enjoy watching you play and enjoy your being too. So you got a fun, happy spirit, man. I hope you really maintain that. And also, hey, we don't have to look any further, because on top of your sun, you got the Venus conjunction. And this really tells me that as a person, you are nothing but love. And you really have all this compassion and this empathy. And you really, I'll probably say this again when we talk about the Sun-Venus conjunction, because this is one of those archetypal, I'm going to say it now. This is one of those times when astrology speaks to me in English, where it says Sun in vision, Venus is love. You see the beauty in all things, man. And that's really one of the most cool things about you, in my opinion, is that if life is good, bad, up, down, left, or right, doesn't matter to you, dude. You're going to be able to pick the value and see the intrinsic value in everything. And this in itself is going to be really amazing, because you're a grateful person, and compassion and empathy is highly developed within you. But on the other hand, with you being Pisces rising on the other side, you're going to be needing to understand that you may be a little bit too tolerant of life's bullshit and the things that aren't needing to be compromised with. You may be too compromising, and just understand that conflict delayed can be conflict multiplied if you don't speak up. They say speak now or forever hold your peace. So if you're not at peace, you better fucking speak. You hear me? But either way this goes, you're a natural relationship person, and you truly do benefit off of your interactions with others because you learn a lot through them as well. So Neptune in your chart is trine Venus, or not, yeah, it is actually, and it's trine the ascendant. So that's that grand water trine, and they say that Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So I do want to say that this is the ruler of Pisces as well. So a lot of what I said is going to be, this is your chart ruler technically, Neptune and Scorpio. So yeah, dude, you're a soulful, deep person, empath who is everything. So make sure that you know that because you are like a well of compassion, empathy, and conscience, that you put appropriate limits on these gifts every now and then, man, because whenever others don't use these things, protect your energy. Just protect your energy is all I gotta say. And also, your imagination really buoys your spirit in a lot of ways that is, I want to say unparalleled. It's kind of weird to say this to somebody because how do I know what you're imagining? But at the same time, I know that this angle really does make your life deep and profound and mystical. Sometimes a little bit more confusing just based on how deep that water gets. But I want to say that your ability to conjure new possibilities in any circumstance is one of your biggest gifts. And that's written in your chart. It's not what you're seeing, it's how you're seeing it. And it's going to be how you redirect your energy towards a higher cause and purpose that really, a lot of times, is that deciding factor of you getting what you want, okay? Hangman card. And I don't even honestly understand what I'm saying, but it's meant for you to, understand and perceive. So, hey, on another note, I know that you got Pluto opposite the ascendant, and this is also going to say you have Pluto conjunct the descendant. And this tells me that relationships are a very strong factor in your evolutionary journey. That's the first thing this tells me. And this tells me that others may kind of see you as intense. Also, you have some fears of abandonment and isolation and stuff like that. And, you meet this world with a deep penetrating insight. And consequently, you may kind of be the type of person that seeks yourself outside of yourself quite often. And this is in honesty, a big part of your evolutionary journey is knowing that you are everything. And it's in you, not on you, it's in you, okay? And we need people in this world for obvious reasons. And if it's not obvious, just think about how solitary confinement is the worst punishment in first world prisons. We need people. And that being said, you need to be clear about why you need them because, while the Virgo makes you very discriminating and deep, you got to be mindful of those paradigms that create the thoughts and the feelings that you consider before making the choices that you do, okay? Because you really want to be of substance and be of service and be useful. And it's again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it comes down to you appreciating the gift so others can see it too. And not to feel like it's braggadocious or erroneous or the word is grandiose, yeah. Not to think that, just be honest and loving and accepting so you can truly cultivate your divine gifts and then share them in true reciprocity with other people as well, and this speaks to me with somebody who likes to really merge themselves so deeply with the outside world that you become the people that you interact with, not even just romance, This tells me that the line between you and others can get kind of blurry because you take on so much from these people. And this in itself is highly rewarding, but also highly painful whenever relationships don't go the way that you plan because, you probably believe deeply in every fucking person as a Pisces rising. And consequently, the hope streams and imagination you attach to them has to also be detached whenever the parameters no longer meet your expectations, okay? So expectations are the number one cause of disappointment. And we got to be more focused on application and less on theory when it comes to the way we involve ourselves with other people. And then also just understand the purpose that a relationship embodies. And when you create a relationship on a shared purpose, similar values and interests, you will grow together with that person. And what you need to do is clarify what it is that your mission is, clarify what your values are, and then understand what it is that you like to do so you can really align with somebody on those things. And also, when you understand these things within yourself, dude, you can create a predetermined time and energy cutoff point when it comes to interacting with others, and then you will seldom be dissatisfied. Mark my MF words, man. This is beautiful. Pluto in the 7th house tells me that you enrich the souls of the people that you interact with, man, and you're the gift. And you better protect this gift, my dude. You better protect this gift, Kim. Damn it. You better do that. Can you please do that for me? Yes, you can. Yes, we can. I don't know if you ever watched Bob the Builder, but, yes, we can. So, hey, let's talk about the other angles of the chart, because your soul had a conversation with you just now. Let's talk about the midheaven and the IC, and this really is the axis of fulfillment in the chart. I kind of just came up with that right now, but that being said, the midheaven is the top of the chart, and it's really going to show us our broadest striving for goodness. I want to say it's what you want to exemplify and master based on the sign position. This is the house of legacy, career, calling, your reputation. But more importantly, dude, this is where you find that energy of what do I want to be remembered for? And then on the bottom of the chart, this is really going to indicate your private life as opposed to your public. The I see is technically should be, or figuratively should be called I don't see. Because if you're sitting here on Earth and you're looking down at the I see, the Earth is going to block it. You won't see it. So, but I don't see. I got astrology jokes, dude. So this is the indication of roots, the heritage, culture, family, family twice. So nice I had to say it twice. And internally speaking, this is going to be where you find your emotional comfort and security in this life and how you feel fulfilled through the success you build in your career, because those are two different things, man. You can have success and lack fulfillment, and that's not success. So the thing about you having Sag on the midheaven, this tells me that you're a spiritualist, first and foremost. Hold up, let me get rid of those. My Virgo didn't like that. The spiritualist in you is strong, and this means that, dude, honestly, you're way more concerned with your inner journey than your external one. But obviously, this is the earth realm, so, you try to reflect most of your choices through principle, and you like to look at life philosophically speaking and through a broad cosmological filter and lens and telescope even. I don't know if that's what you want to call it, but I saw that. And this tells me that you want to be like buddy-buddy with God. You want to become your higher self. And I say more power to you, man, because that is God's will. Broadly speaking, words can be a limiting container, but this tells me that you kind of like to see yourself as significant as how your life relates to all of life and its significance. So you've always known that you're on a journey, and this is the part of you that, in your words, knows that you're destined for greatness. You absolutely are. Jupiter rules your midheaven, and where's Jupiter? Oh, whoa, there it is. It's right over there. So, hey, the cool thing about you, my friend Kim, my friend, look at any position of power or authority as an opportunity to give. So consequently, you actually hold yourself to high standards, and you have a great tendency to deny yourself instant gratification for long-term advancement. And this in itself makes you a leader. You extract a lot of meaning from your experiences. You are eager to learn, and just as much or more eager to execute the knowledge that you've gained and put it into practice and then grow. You're a growth-oriented individual, and this means that you're always striving for more and never less. And sometimes you got to pump the motherfucking brakes and ask yourself, is this healthy? It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And this is going to help you in a lot of ways, but sometimes this is going to be the thing that makes you search outside of yourself for the shit that you already are, my dude. And also, with you being such a striving Jupiter, I'm fidgeting a little bit because of my third house planets, but as I'm talking about this Wheel of Fortune, Jupiter card comes out of here, man, and you can turn that wheel 1,000,000 times, and then after that, you can turn it 1,000,000 more times. So what you're going to need to understand is that this is a journey, my dude, and you need to be in the practice of making the choice and trying as hard as you can to enjoy the process of getting there as much as you enjoy being there. Whatever that means to you, do your best, man, because, this tells me that you may kind of have that carrot on a stick, on a string in front of your face, man, and the faster you push, the further it gets, man. So you're going to have to really find some inner peace within. And on another note, this I see Gemini, I don't see Gemini, means that you have this open, broad mind, and it's kind of restless sometimes. And this in itself tells me that This is where your thirst for knowledge comes, and you want to know everything in the world, man. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you starve for meaning in this life, and you really want to be taught things of substance. And with this axis, Gemini on the IC, this does tell me not only do you have a lot of things that may call out to you, and you're going to need to really just make sure that you clarify and then work on execution of your highest priority. This tells me that the truth is going to be an elusive ingredient within the realm of your career at a couple times in your life as well. So seeing yourself as a reflection of your truth is of utmost paramount importance for you, to make sure that you give the message to life that life has given you in a positive and meaningful way. And you love to learn, so it's just important that you allow yourself to outgrow boxes that are too small for you and get in the practice of infiltrate, educate, and vacate, And you may have already experienced this many times in your life, but that's the process, is infiltrate, educate, vacate. When you outgrow the pond, don't let yourself be the big fish in the small pond. If you're the smartest person in the room, you may be in the wrong room unless you were meant to teach all those people in that room, And as a Sag midheaven, you may be meant to be a teacher in a lot of ways, That's really the sign of teaching. And you want to give something to life because life has given you all this. So you just got to make sure you get on this axis and clarify, what's the message? What is it I want to tell people? Boom, boom, boom. So, hey, aspects of the midheaven also shows the things that you would want to share with the world, master, exemplify, and you also may be recognized through these things. So first thing I see is Juno midheaven, 17 degrees Sag, and this is the romantic love asteroid, and it says that you're a hopeless romantic dude, and you really want to fall deeply in love and maybe even find a soulmate in this life. And I cannot stress this enough, dude. It's about your soul, mate. Like, comma, mate. And when you release the desire to find a soulmate, and when I say release the desire, I don't mean giving up or just forgetting about it. I'm saying having a deep inner trust and faith in the universe that what is meant for you will not miss you, and then just committing yourself to your inner path to God, goddess, the universe, source, whatever that is. This is where you find this shit, man. Midheaven and Sagittarius. This is saying that you may be looking for something in others. I said this with Pluto. I said this with a couple of times, and I'll probably say this with the Sun-Venus thing. But for real, Wanda, Kim, Martin, you are looking for something in others that you can really only provide within yourself. And when you understand that, the universe will be able, when you understand that and commit yourself to fulfilling all of your needs and becoming truly self-reliant for everything that you feel is destined for you, the universe will then send you the secret petitions of your heart. Okay? For real, dude. So also on another note, I want to tell you that you have your moon making an opposition to the midheaven, also making a conjunction to the IC. And this tells me that you may be kind of a homebody and you need a lot of privacy and a lot of comfort in this life. And that's going to be a determining factor for your career, the amount of emotional security and fulfillment that you experience at a certain time. That's a lot to take in, but that is true. And at another note, this tells me that, you really want to share love and compassion and put your heart and goals, heart and soul into your goals. I'm trying to rhyme, but yeah, dude, you're full send, you're full force. You really try to put your whole heart into it. And because you're led by your heart, what you got to understand is that sometimes you don't want to leap. Sometimes you want to be comfortable. And sometimes comfort is diametric to the growth, and you're going to need to be able to be comfortable with uncomfortability. But sometimes this is your keen intuition guiding you from danger or helping you intuit success, because again, you're more focused on this inner journey. So the choices you make are engendered on surrounding you with peace and fulfillment. And when you don't understand this, sometimes you can be the type of person that internalizes some guilt or shame on yourself for feeling like you're falling short of your potential or being too risk averse or too hedonistic or comfort oriented. So just be careful with that, man, because you are here for fulfillment and peace and love, and you have complex emotions like we talked about. And also, it's not fair for you to judge yourself on the standards of other people that don't actually know your heart and soul. So this also tells me that, on another note, you wish to give something of your life of substance and meaning, but you fear being rejected from the public and others in general. So you have a hard time kind of putting your best foot forward, and you may be kind of shy. And like I said, man, it's really about you. and I'm not meaning to make this like personal, but I'm just trying to say the message here being is that you got to clarify this message, love this message to the point where it doesn't matter what the fuck anybody has to say about it, because you stand in your truth and you are vibrating in that through the whole middle pillar, and you become the lightning rod, that testimony just through your life. Anybody can perceive it in any way, but no matter what, they're going to feel that Midas touch off the work you've done. You understand? You got to focus exclusively on what you can do and really not let emotional insecurity prevent or reject you in the pursuit of your goals. You got to focus exclusively on the result of your efforts, and then make sure that you put yourself in a position where you can't fail. And understand that insecurities are imperative for everybody. We need these inner security systems. But when these inner security systems have actually prevented us from growth, they're actually not as secure as we thought they were, and they stopped serving the purpose they were intended to do. And that's when we got to break them down and rebuild. Okay, so that in itself is just saying that, hey, you're destined for great things because you're led by your heart, and you really are going to give to you the life that which sits within your soul. And this in itself is highly meaningful, but you're going to need to make sure that you really trust your inner guidance and journey, and stop getting distracted by the judgments and opinions of other fucking people, man. Don't let those people's emotions dictate your actions. For real, man. For real. My throat chakra hurts because you need to hear this, man. This is how you get what you deserve. Okay? It's again by challenging your assumptions about life, about what you think is true. Because you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you think is true. So you got to challenge the assumptions about self, others, and the world. But on another note, hey, this Uranus on the midheaven, this is going to help you do that. Let me tell you, man. Because you got a brilliant MF mind. You have literally an inner genius. Where is Uranus? It's out of trine. So it's Leo. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, man, you're a striving individual, and you really want to share change and liberation with the world and be a source of positive inspiration for all. And this also tells me that, you're self-directed and motivated, and you run under a high level of dynamic tension that truly helps you make meaningful adjustments in life. And you take inspired approaches to everyday problems, and you actually get a lot of high leverage on this. But on the same note, this can make you kind of iconoclastic and rebellious sometimes. So it's just imperative that you, again, know the cause that you rebel against or for, and then boom. Life gets exciting every single day because you're really the type of person that wants to do the work. And I see that you're enthused by the work, and it's highly motivating and fulfilling for you. And, you're a solution-oriented person. So you really want to do things the best way to your understanding and ability. And this in itself is going to make work highly rewarding, but at the same time, you may have this tendency to kind of oppose or try to redefine structures and patterns as they are. And this in itself can cause conflict of interest when it comes to work or career or your vocation and things of that nature. And you told me you're retired. So that being said, you probably had a lot of, I don't want to say negative interactions with your authority and your bosses, but times when the rules are oppressive and they don't even make sense, and there's way better ways to do things, and it's like the system is just being a bitch, And also, I just want to say that if that's something you've experienced within your subordinated career life, now that you're free and able to do whatever you want to do, and it's like, that's retirement to my understanding, that when you build paradigms and systems is the word, that you also don't make these needlessly restrictive and oppressive to yourself. Make sure that you really embrace this quality within yourself that is constantly reinventing and trying to share change and inspiration. Don't get too attached to the box you put yourself into, because with a Sag midheaven, I feel like you don't really want to be in a box in general, my dude. So on another note, let's talk about Cancer energy, because I see someone who wants to change the world and no doubt already has. So they just want to do more of that. So Cancer speaks to your soul, the sun. And just understand that the sun gives life and energy to all of our solar system. And this is the center of our gravitational pull. Same way with the solar plexus chakra. This is your core, your identity, your ego. The sun is the driving force, and it really shows with its sign placement the key elements of our character and personality. And when we look at the house placement of the sun, this is going to show the natural arena of expression for you as an individual, and also where you need to take action to feel fulfilled as a person. So you have your sun in Cancer in the 4th house, and this tells me a lot about you, dude. You're ruled by the moon, so this means that you're an emotional person, you're sensitive, you're psychic, you're intuitive, and your emotions are kind of volatile, meaning in no good or bad way, they just fluctuate a lot. And you wear your heart on your sleeve. And this means that, you may be all too willing to connect your emotions with everybody, or sometimes you don't want to show your cards. And that in itself is kind of a spectrum. You may fall in between in some way, probably often somewhere in the middle. But that being said, you really love home and family, and you care so much, man. And I think that's your problem, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, because every sun sign has their problem. Cancer cares too much, Leo does too much, etc. I could go through the whole 12, but either way that goes, you love to love, and you really do take on a lot from other people. So I just want to say that because this is the fourth sign of the zodiac, as a person, not only do you really have these gifts and skills as a nurturer and a person who can provide, you also have this deep connection to your past. And you're also very sensitive, and nostalgia is going to hit you a lot harder than anybody else, So when you can maintain certain positive connection to the parts of your past that you enjoyed, like the foods you used to like, or the shows that you liked, or the activities you enjoyed, this is going to really give you the biggest peace of mind in your day-to-day, and living in peace in the present is going to help you create a big, bright, beautiful future, because in theory we can't create the future if we're stuck in the past. So just keep that in mind, that you have a strong connection with your family and your ancestors and the lineage. And that is something to think about when it comes to ancestry, is that everyone is the embodiment of lineage, but as a Cancer, energetically it runs a little deeper because it's cardinal water, the sign of the home, fourth house. And you're going to need to really venerate your ancestors. Dude, I can't stress this enough. They're telling me to emphasize the fact that you need to make sure that you are putting in spiritual work to give them energy, and then they can give you energy. And that's how that works on Earth, okay? Because you don't need to be reinventing the wheels, even though you might like inventing shit. We don't need you to reinvent the wheel. We've already done that. So make sure that you're spending time connecting to your soul, your emotions, and that in itself is going to be a highly rewarding process for you, because you like to get involved, emotionally speaking. So I also want to say that this can make you a great cook. This can make you a really good provider in damn near every way, shape, and form, and just a great person to be partnered with in any relationship. And with you having the fourth house sun, what this speaks to me more so specifically, we kind of got to this with the talking about what was in the fourth opposite the midheaven, but either way, you need some privacy in your life. You need space to be able to feel comfortable and, calm, and understanding really matters a lot to you as a Cancer. That's where you derive your comfort from. Cancer has this reputation as a homebody, and what's kind of interesting, you may also attest, is that while you probably like being at the house and having your space, it's not that you don't like to do anything. You do like going places. It's just that you want to be able to understand or know what you're getting into, putting yourself in the great unknown, or putting yourself in a circumstance where there's undefined paradigms or parameters. This shit can be a little bit nerve-wracking and things of that nature. So, when you know what the environment that you're going into is like, it's going to be pretty easy for you to just jump into it, But having security within the heart, that's of utmost paramount importance. So when I see the sun on Venus, like I said before, dude, you are the type of person that truly sees the beauty in everything. And this also makes you very charming and very graceful and well-mannered, and maybe even gentle and soft-spoken when it comes to how you express yourself and interact. And also, you have a strong creative tendency, and you really look at every activity as an opportunity to create, and you create all types of things, man. So as a person, especially the way this is trining your ascendant, I'm telling you, man, you're a sunny, warm person, and you really love to get involved with life, and your spirit is dynamic and kind of bold and exuberant, and sometimes your actions may be a little bit exaggerated, and it's fun for you because you just like to exist. And this in itself, like I said, is going to really uplift those people around you. And if it doesn't, you got to realize that, as long as you're loving yourself, you can't let the judgments of other people really get to you, man. Don't let other people's cloudy day dim your shine, because you got a lot of it. And I just hope you never lose that sense of enthusiasm, because you're a strong motherfucking soul. Spirit says, talk about it now. You got the sun on Lilith. I didn't think I was going to talk about this at all, quite honestly. But hey, yeah. Hey, I'm going to talk about it because I already said this. So Lilith, it's important I think we get in this now, because you're a Cancer sun. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. And what you need to understand about Lilith is that, and first of all, about conjunctions. Pardon me, I'm so sorry. conjunctions occur when two things are in the same point in the zodiac. And this is a central linkage of two energies. And what this is going to mean is you got to study this shit together, dude. So your Venus blots out the sun and vice versa, but also you got Lilith up here in the conjunction as well. And just understand that Lilith specifically is the apogee of the moon. So this is not a celestial body, but it's the point in space where the moon is the furthest from the earth. And the moon, which we'll get into after the sun, really represents our emotional security and our fulfillment. And this is the deepest and darkest part of yourself that begs to be nurtured. And often it's quite unconscious from ourselves. And the thing about having Lilith in Cancer is that this makes you a super strong Cancer, no doubt. But also, you know, this makes your heart deeper, layered, and more complex. And, you know, at the same time, this tells me that you shelter a lot of pain, my dude. Life has given you quite a lot of pain. Like, I look at this birth chart and I see this story tells the story of a lot of that shit, man. But no pain, no gain. Pain makes strength. But on another note, I just want to say that this may actually kind of substantiate why I'm saying what I'm saying, is that you have this deep penetrating insight into life itself with the sun Lilith. And at the same time, you need a lot of praise. You need a lot of respect, a lot of acknowledgement and celebration. And you know on your deep unconscious levels that you are truly special and that you're a creator and that God's divinity, however you want to define divinity, this shit bubbles from your soul. And this in itself means that you beg to be recognized on an unconscious level, and you can diametrically feel unrecognized because of how deep you want to be seen. Does that make sense? So that being said, this means that as you nurture, you may kind of feel a lack of reciprocity. You may feel like you are unloved, and you may feel like other people don't want to care for you. And the assumption that really comes to my mind is that nobody cares. And that's rough, man, because when you assume nobody cares, your paradigm creates circumstances of people not caring about you. And also, you unconsciously stop showing up for yourself in ways that you should. And that itself fucking sucks too, because you're like, damn, sometimes you realize you're causing your pain and you're like, why do I do this? And at the same time, it's because your unconscious is driving the boat. You understand me? It's telling me that, you know, you're going to need to address your mother issues and also your father issues. Either way that goes, if it's both, like for me, high five, dude, I got both. We can compare notes, but either way that goes, like, however the apple fell off the tree and got a bruise, you're gonna need to sit with that and find the source of your power within that, because it's really deep in there, man. And you know, this is energy that you have available to you, but it hides itself in the most hurt and scared part of you. So that's why I said, even in the elements, when you take time to really just sit down and stop distracting yourself with the external world and go within and feel your soul, this is where you get power, okay? You said you're destined for greatness, and you absolutely are, and life knocked you down, and you're building up, and you're like, where do I develop these gifts, and how do I keep going? You just got to sit your ass down, dude. That's the healing journey. And more than anything else, that was speaking to me about your journey in general at this time, is that it's the healing journey. That is the spiritual journey, to become into alignment with the soul, to remove anything that we've imposed upon ourselves or taken from life that interferes with that. So that in itself is really what's time. Is the only reason you hurt so much, dude, is because you feel like there's a lack of love. And that in itself means that, hey, listen, spirit has put you in this life to develop a higher and deeper love nature in both directions. And this means that you are the full fountain of youth and the Holy Grail, and that you need to just drink from your own source. And this in itself will create a cathartic release of your pain and a well of unending strength that you can really give to the world. And this will outlive you through your legacy. But you're just going to need to really find that through yourself, man. The only way out is through. And the question you want to ask yourself is like, is the pain of change more or less painful than the pain of staying the same? So I just want to say that it's probably time for you to scry your soul and do the shadow work. And I see someone who's willing and ready with the Sag midheaven. So we may come back to this. I feel like there might be no need. I think Spirit says the cat's out the bag. There we go. Good stuff. Saved us time in the long run. But on the other note, you got a couple aspects to your sun. These are probably the most prominent and important ones because of the conjunction. But on another note, I see that you got Mars on your sun, making a sextile in Taurus. And this tells me, first and foremost, that you're good at conserving your energy, and you also do kind of seek out those high leverage activities. This tells me that you are a driven person and somewhat impulsive, but at the same time, like the way you redirect and structure these impulses can be very productive. And, you're an energetic competitor, and you really are a striving person in a lot of ways when you understand what target you want to aim at. So, again, your superpower is clarity in this life, my dude. So, on another note, Jupiter, opposite the sun. Talk about some clarity, man. You are the giver. And that's a really good book that you could read by Lois Lowry or have it read to you on YouTube audiobook. It has a lot of meaning, probably for somebody like you. But this tells me that you're bold and larger than life itself. And you understand that you're special, like we talked about. And you're very ready to give your gifts back to life. And you hold yourself to high standards, and you may shoot and aim high or aim not at all. And this in itself is going to be highly exciting and rewarding, but also highly defeating whenever you set yourself up for defeat by leaping too high. And also, with you looking for meaning and kind of striving for growth, you're going to need to really overcome the urge to feel like you're unlucky in life whenever you don't get what you want. And sometimes, your expectations of yourself in life, like I talked about, can be somewhat inflated, my friend. So that in itself is something to just kind of check your ego at the door before you aim. And same way the moon is opposite your midheaven, I'm telling you, dude, make sure that you check your ego before you set your goals, because whenever you don't feel good about yourself or see yourself as a reflection of your truth and purpose and feel like these things are divorced from you or too far and you need to really strive and grab them, you got to understand that you're reaching with a feeling of desperation. And this feeling of desperation is not going to give you the conclusion that you want. You need to just be diligent and disciplined and then curb the desperation, quite honestly. And then your life will become easier every single day because you're going to hold yourself to realistic standards. That in itself is beautiful. So really you're just going to need to make sure that you find some equilibrium within yourself and know that you already are a reflection of truth. And you don't actually have to prove it to anybody than yourself. Anybody other than yourself, I should say. That's the thing, man, is like you really want so much of yourself. Sometimes you don't acknowledge what you are with Sun opposite Jupiter. For real. But either way that goes, this tells me that you are a bold, giving person and you really just love life, and you are so willing and able and ready to take all of life by the reins and then just charge with it. Jupiter on your sun tells me that on a deep level, you feel very in control of your life, and that's really awesome. So on the Uranus semi-square the sun, you take inspired approaches towards things in this life, but at the same time, this is going to put a lot of dynamic pressure on your psyche to become a force of change and evolution. And with you being a constant changing evolutionary force, sometimes you don't recognize who you are. And, you may kind of have a tendency to resist against paradigms and structures in life just because you need a strong level of freedom and your individuality matters a lot to you. And it's important that you show up free and unencumbered in life. And this is going to mean that, your ticket in life is finding freedom through responsibility and not freedom from responsibility. And when you've made that commitment and choice within your soul, nothing will stop you, dude. But also you got to make sure, again, working more on application and less on theory, try to make sure that your ideas of progress and change and that iconoclastic nature doesn't artificially separate you from other people, man, because at the same time, you really do value inspiration and leadership and being around those that are like you in some way. And that means that also you're going to need to try not to prejudge others and give people the permission to express themselves, who they are, so you can learn from them as well. Learn how to work with people, not around them, dude. And then your life is going to become more productive. With the sun trine Neptune, this is a gift also. Simply put, this sentence just told me compassionate action, sun trine Neptune. That in itself does reflect giver again. But I want to say that it's your altruism and your willingness and your faith in humanity that really buoys your spirit a lot of times and makes it where no matter if life is, again, good, bad, up, down, left, or right, you're pretty willing to sacrifice. And suffering, this is weird to say, but it doesn't hit you as hard as other people because of your imagination and your faith in yourself and your character. You're empowered by suffering and you're empowered by responsibilities. And you really honestly love to strive for something because when you take a responsibility or you make a sacrifice, you really feel like you are kind of what I'm seeing is like you're playing tug of war and you're on God's side, if that makes sense. And like I had mentioned in my own story, I'm not trying to be religious, but I think God is one of the simplest words to describe divinity, so we use it a lot. But Sun sextile Pluto, a force of transformation, dude. And also, you have vitality that's very strong, whenever you're using your energy in a very direct and intentional way. And it's just imperative that you do that you be very intentional, and also really find the power that's vested within you, because it's really there, man. This is one of those angles that's pretty easy, but you want to leverage in and really just appreciate your character, dive into your strengths, and optimize these over time, because they beg from your soul to be utilized, okay? So, moving forward, we have the moon. And the moon inscribes a circle around the earth, and with it pulling the tides of our ocean, it's going to have a direct correlation to your emotional life and your inner self. Sun being external, moon being internal. And the moon, in its sign position, is going to show your basic responses and your patterns in your day-to-day life. And this is going to say also the general energy of your upbringing and your connection with your mom, or the more maternal figure. And you have moon and Gemini in the 4th house. In the house, more specifically, is going to show the arena where you look out for that comfort and security. It might not be where you find it, but it's going to be where you look for it, okay? So the moon in the 4th house, Gemini, it's pretty nice, man. Moon is home here, allegedly, because it rules Cancer in the 4th. So as a Gemini moon, let me tell you, man, you're a brilliant person. And I'm not exaggerating. You have a sharp, open, fast mind, and somewhat of a restless mind too. And this means that on a day-to-day level, you really value being stimulated and entertained and enthused with projects and goals. And, you may be watching TV often, or having it run in the background, or listening to a podcast or an audiobook, or you're reading, or there's yarn in your hands, or you got arts and crafts going. Like, Gemini rules the hands, and you really do need to be busy a lot of times, because it really makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel in control in a way too. And that in itself is awesome. Boredom can be death for a Gemini moon. And I don't mean to be exaggerating either. And I think that is exaggerated, but it's like not literal death. It just makes you feel like you need to change. That is death in a broad sense. But I digress, dude. The thing about it is that, boredom is a despondency, because what makes you comfortable is having stimulation on your nervous system. So this is kind of the part of me that told you that, or the part that told me to tell you to find that balance between predictable patterns that you can just chill and surrender to and not really think too much about, and then also this curiosity, because you have so much you want to do, man. And you can be the consummate initiator of damn near any project, but sometimes the follow-through can be a little bit problematic, because you get pulled in all those different directions in the process too. So consistency is the word. So people just make sure that you actually get the result you're intending to do, Systematically approach your goals, and you'll seldom be dissatisfied. And, your Uranus will help you do that in your chart. But on the 4th house note, this is a lot of parallels to you being a Cancer sun. You're a homebody, and you really do value intimacy and deep connection with people. And also, empathy is innate within this one. And this is also going to say that you need to be doing that healing work and that shadow work and clarifying that water element, your boundaries and other people's energy, so your interactions with them can be even more rich and rewarding, And also a Gemini moon tells me that you keep an open mind to people, and you're willing to listen and learn. And also that you're very charming and funny and social and very witty, because of how fast your mind works. You find humor very quickly, and your sense of it is well developed. And I wanted to say also, it's like the Venus parts of you, but also this in itself, the openness of your character does give other people this vicarious sense of fun experiencing you. And you may be the type of person that other people kind of unload their ideas on, just because they can sense that you're willing to accept it. And sometimes that in itself, as a Pisces rising, is going to be fucking exhausting. And you're going to be like, ugh, I got to sleep now, dude. They're like, I don't know why I just told you that. And you're like, I don't know why either. I never fucking asked. But either way that goes, you got a strong heart, man. The moon likes to be here. And also, speaking of a strong heart, moon opposite Jupiter. So yeah, dude, you really learn through your interactions with other people. You're an intuitive person, and you have a strong emotional intelligence that is unparalleled. And this means that you're a traveler on the inner planes, and you really can go through journeys in the astral like no other, man. And if that's hard to reach, know that you do this when you daydream, okay? And this feels like having Cancer Jupiter, even though you don't. That's kind of like a thought experiment if you ever wanted to jump through those hoops. But this is going to say that nurturing makes you feel kind of in control, and you really have this deep compassion that you like to share with others because it gives you a cathartic release of your own frustrations and nervousness. And, that in itself creates this opportunity to tap into this unbounded growth potential whenever you're connected in serving others, or at least just enjoying their company and stuff like that. And, on another note, this tells me that you're a growth-oriented person and you really love to excel and exceed, and comfort matters a lot to you, dude, and you may seek this out in kind of a restless way. So on another note, you're gonna need to be very mindful of over consumption, everything in moderation. I was looking for another word, but yeah, excess, exuberance, overindulgence, things like that. This can come with the moon opposite Jupiter whenever you don't feel very secure or peaceful within your own self. You may be the type of person that wants to kind of seek it out unconsciously, even restlessly through the nerves, to be able to eat or satiate or fulfill yourself through some sort of interaction with the world, So I just want to say that, the more emotional security that you can build in your life, the more your health will improve in every way, dude. And I feel like that's a no-brainer. I don't need to tell anybody that, but at the same time, it's no room for assumptions here. Watch how you eat and make sure that you eat from a place of love and not fear. Okay, that's something to consider as well. So moon sextile Uranus also tells me that, you do inspire the people that you interact with, and then you're also inspired by them, and you really connect so deeply. You kind of have a tendency to send probes into the unconscious of other people and force on their growth by touching the sensitive parts of them, and that in itself is a really beautiful thing. And consequently, you receive the same thing, man, with your interactions with others, where they kind of liberate you as well when you're willing to meet yourself deeper too. Sometimes you're not, and then you have to, and vice versa. Sometimes they're not, and then these will be adjustments that take a little bit more time, but this tells me damn near every interpersonal relationship with you is the catalyst for strong growth with that moon sextile Uranus. So on another note, I see moon making a sesquiquadrate to your Neptune. And this is one of these angles that is a little bit more abrasive. And this is going to say that, as a Pisces rising and a Gemini moon, being such a deep but intellectual person, you kind of have this tendency to unconsciously exaggerate your emotions and feelings. And it's because of how deep and multifaceted your life is, quite literally. So the more psychic development you do, the more this is going to get easier. And you've had this since the moment of your birth, so I just want to remind you that this is something that you're pretty intimately connected with and aware of. But this is the cause of some of your fears, man, where you really want so deeply to be merged and connected with other people, but you do fear that intimacy. And I say that if I'm repeating myself a lot, everything in the chart reflects everything. So I'm only pulling in your energy, but, there's a lot of things in the chart that kind of talk about the fact that you are such a strong lover, but you really just need to tap that love within yourself so your love that you experience with other people can be more fulfilling. It's really that way, dude, But also, on another note, I want to say that the moon making a quintile to Pluto does help you with this, obviously, because this easy angle tells me that your soul begs for connection. And this is going to say that based on you being so deep, having Pluto where it is, like we talked about, with you pulling in so many deep levels of people's being, no matter if the relationship is good or bad, you're going to benefit from it. And the 72-degree angle, the quintile, represents creativity. So I'm telling you, even if it's the worst thing you ever experienced, you have this really great gift, Kim, of being able to make opportunity out of unfortunate circumstances, And also, this tells me that you're keenly psychoanalytical and you love to peel back the layers of your own self and see who it is that you are in a deep inner level. And consequently, you actually do the same thing for other people and reassess their own motives. And that makes you very aware of yourself because you're really attributing parts of yourself to them. And that in itself makes you very adept at who you are and also how other people are, because you can really know the difference between the two. So I'm telling you, man, you're very eager to connect with people. Also, sometimes intuitively not very eager to do it. And sometimes your soul is really giving you good messages. Sometimes you might get in your own way with the Neptune thing, but either way that goes, man, you learn every time you interact with somebody, even if it's only on the surface level or even if it's a glance walking on the other side of the street. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. That's something deep. But Let's go forward. We got a couple more planets to go through. We have Mercury, which is the first one in the solar system after the sun. And just understand that Mercury represents our mentality and our temperament and our attitude and our mind. And this is how you deduct and think logically. Okay? And Mercury in Cancer basically tells me that you are an empathic person with a lot of emotional intelligence, and you may be kind of soft-spoken. And, you are a great person who can read body language and pick up on the messages that are being expressed but not deliberately being communicated. So your ability to really understand the hearts of other people is amazing, and your gift is speaking love into people as a Cancer Mercury. Let me tell you that. Love and comfort and peace. That's your gift, is being able to nurture and soothe people with your mind. And also your mind is intensely creative with this being in the 5th house, and also it's comprehensive and deep and thorough in its scope and application and explanation of things as well. And also this tells me that, you're very dynamic as a speaker, and you may tend to speak in broad terms and kind of build to a climax also in the way that you communicate yourself. And you also might kind of have a hard time speaking in a straight line. And also, you have this uncanny ability to relate all information back to yourself. And this in itself makes you the center of your universe and makes your interactions with other people highly deliberate. And that's in itself really fun. But also, you don't really passively connect knowledge. You create knowledge. And this is something that really a Leo Mercury can only understand, or a 5th house Mercury, is that, you create knowledge. And also, you have an air of authority and inner dignity when it comes to expressing your thoughts. So it's like you say things and you don't ask it. And that in itself is highly empowering and really gives you a lot of respect. But at the same time, when we focus too much on theory and not enough on application and don't respect people's viewpoints or attention, or are too inflexible in our mentality, this is only going to lend us to being prone to being humiliated or ridiculed. So just watch out for that, man, because you have a lot of life and love to give, and you also love your mind, because this is how you feel and experience yourself, is your own communication and thoughts too. So just make sure that you are appreciating your life and yourself, but every now and then checking your ego and making sure you're humbling yourself, but not humbling to the point of humiliating yourself, even though that's kind of the same energy. Is just saying check and make sure that you're being real with yourself in the world, and then you're going to be able to see exactly what you're meant to shine for. And that itself is going to make you speak from a place of authority and a place of inner dignity and an unparalleled voice that can even shake a room with your gentle, loving Cancer energy, whatever it ends up being, But hey, I see that you got Mercury making a square to your Mars. And this tells me that, you probably try to very, very best to be direct in manners of thought, speech, and communication. And, this is going to mean that, you may be kind of impulsive in the way that you speak, or maybe somewhat hot-headed, or maybe somewhat aggressive in your speech as well. And, whether or not it gets played out actively is another story. With Cancer, it may be kind of passive, to the point where you'd rather compete about yourself and not against others, but also, the frustration that you get from having to internalize some of the ideas that you hold back. This can make you kind of prone to eruption and explosion every now and then, when you could have just spoken your mind or found an avenue for your extra energy, like exercise or something like this. And on another note, with this Mercury Mars, this tells me that you kind of have this restless mind that's striving and curious and eager to take action. And it's going to be important that you take your thought processes, not only just in communication, but also in the choices that you make every day, and slow them down a little bit. And that's going to make your life automatically more productive and useful and happy and fulfilling. And also, when it comes down to study habits, you're going to want to make sure you make these more regular, because you can kind of be easily distracted as well, just because you're so ambitious and so driven and spontaneous and impulsive. The follow through is really what you want to work on, consistency again, like I said. And also, either way this goes, man, this tells me you got a powerful mind, and also you trust in your mind too. And I'm gonna leave it at that, because I just went in my 12th house. But Jupiter is making a quincunx to Mercury, and I also got Jupiter quincunx to Mercury. And this tells me that you're very sharp and logical and deductive, but also you're very intuitive and wise, and you make circular connections about all the the logical information that you've built. So you have this tendency with your ability to create information to kind of go on travels inside of your brain that you've never had, physically speaking, and things within your life can tend to expand without you needing to take any interaction with the external world. So what this means is that, sometimes you, in your depth and intensity of your perception, can kind of mislead you through your misjudgments, and you have this tendency to exaggerate, and it's probably not even intentional because of this just being your birth chart. But you're gonna need to make sure that, again, that you just stay practical and stay on application, less on theory. That's really the simplest way I can put it. And know that the sphere of your awareness is a little bit bigger than your sphere of influence, and you need to commit yourself to staying within the smaller sphere, which is your sphere of influence, so that you can just make sure that the intuitive connections that you make from life, or the spontaneous jolts and inspiration that you receive, is actually meaningful, useful, and applicable to life's circumstance at that time, okay? And this is going to make your mind just easier to live with, man. And also, this kind of tells me that, in the realm of your career and calling, or even just day-to-day energy, make sure that you are being honest with yourself and others, because you can periodically hurt your cause by trying to tell people what you think they want to hear as opposed to what you actually believe, dude. And that in itself is going to create more disappointment. So you're going to need to really just make sure that you're more honest in your day-to-day, and that's going to in itself cause a little bit more frustration in the short term, but way more fulfillment in the long term, I promise you, okay? So moving forward, we're getting to Venus, and like I talked about, you don't got to look far for this because this is on your sun, so you know this intimately like the back of your hand and like the reflection in the mirror. This is the planet of love, beauty, and values, and this is really where we relate to ourselves, and this becomes the basis for every relationship we will ever have, okay? So Venus does represent relationships, but it starts with us. And also this represents our needs and how we satiate these, and also what we aspire for as beautiful and good in life. And with you having Venus in the Cancer 4th house, man, this does tell me a lot about you, and you do need to kind of be one to see one sometimes, or it takes one to know one, But this tells me that you're a gentle lover and a gentle friend, and you really do care so much about security and nurturing, and not only being safe within your own heart and soul, but you kind of look for home within other people too. So this means that, on another note, with the past and comfort being what actually derives your joy, sometimes you can miss out on experiencing spontaneous joy because of your tendency to live in the past, man. And that in itself is kind of fucking rough from one who already has this in my chart. So you got to find inner peace, man, through regular patterns in your everyday life that bring you some comfort and joy. And like I said, if you can connect some nostalgia to those, man, even better. But also, the way that your imagination mingles with your memory to create peace of mind in your day-to-day is something that's really beautiful, man. It's totally beautiful. Like, it's harder to tell people about their imagination because it's more personal, but I'm saying it's beautiful. That's something that you got inside of you. And also, your home is probably beautiful because the space that you live in kind of needs to be organized and the aesthetics matter. It's all feng shuied to the nth degree. That's Cancer Venus as well. And also, the sun thing makes you intensely creative. And at the same time, it's like, with you having Venus on the sun, this tells me that you really do want to experience a lot of yourself in your partnerships. And this means that, hey, it doesn't necessarily matter who the fuck you partner with, again, because you are the entire universe, mind you. And when you realize that it's yourself that you're striving and looking for, and you really just find a creative outlet, which is really what you need. I don't like to tell people what they need, man. Let me tell you, I'm speaking through the soul, and I could substantiate why I'm saying this, but let me just tell you, and you let the information resonate, let the energy speak for itself, that you need a creative outlet in this life, because if you cannot will things into existence, you cannot experience the part of yourself that is the creator through a relationship unless you have children. And if that was why you kind of had children unconsciously, you may notice that if you didn't see that beforehand, maybe that created conflict of interest. But I'm going to stay off that because I don't know your partnerships as much as I know you. So either way that goes, you got to appreciate the creator that's within you, man, because that's really what brings you the happiest amount of joy, So freedom of expression is going to be important in a lot of your relationships, and you're going to need to find freedom through relationships and not freedom from them. Meaning, you're going to need to be able to be who you are and let other people be who they are as well, especially with the way that you're seventh house Virgo, not being so discriminating or nitpicky to the point of, imposing superficial limitations and burdens on other people to try to make you happy when it's not really what you necessarily want on the inside. Another thing that this talks about, I would say having a Cancer Venus, is that this can talk about indirect methods of trying to manifest what you want through the feminine energy, water, and that in itself can be, romantic and beautiful and happy and satisfactory for a lot of people involved, but sometimes you're just gonna have to ask for what you want for real, and that in itself is gonna be the best way to go about it. But on another note, this tells me that you have a love for children and you have a love for fun and just excitement, and you really have this playful spirit where you just really like to be, man, and that's really beautiful. Venus opposing Jupiter tells me that you kind of have a tendency to idealize damn near everybody that you're involved with, dude, and it makes you very happy to give, and I just hope that you put appropriate limits on giving for obvious reasons. But on another note, you really do look for a person of power and substance and authority when it comes to partnership as well. And, this in itself can talk about like the Venus-Jupiter aspects, remarrying a couple times, having many partnerships, but also high standards really comes with this too. And, when we think about everything I said with the Venus and the Sun, the more you can really vibrate in your boldness and your exuberance and really just connect to the meaning of your life, the more powerful and positive and satisfying the relationships you form are going to be, okay? And this also talks about, watch out for excess and make sure that your priorities about yourself are great, and also that you employ some discipline within your life to make sure that you are, not going so far into exuberance and hedonism that you are running rampant on the ways that you're trying to grow, because food is one thing I talked about with the way that the moon kind of opposes this, but also like if you lack direction, clarity, or don't feel good about yourself, dude, you can also tend to spend money unnecessarily and then not have it when you need it. So just be careful for that as well, dude, because I don't like to say negative shit like this, but I just see the spectrums and possibilities, and I just want you to be mindful that you're a growth-oriented individual, but you also are a very pleasure-oriented individual and need a lot of happiness in your life and a lot of comfort. And the more you can really find pure happiness within your own heart, the more your interactions with others and the world itself is going to be in a arena of like full participation. That's kind of the intention I'm trying to share with you, okay? Venus trine Neptune, I almost think at this point you could probably tell me what this means, but I think at the same note, this gift really does speak to high levels of your love nature and compassion. Am I breaking the record? There's a strong will to sacrifice, but also a strong penetrating insight into the dreams and imagination of other people, and this really creates a cathartic Venus trine Neptune, a cathartic release of self, or you could call it transcendence of self whenever you partner with other people. Your Pluto kind of hits for that too. And you have a Venus trine Chiron, so let me tell you about this, and we can start getting into the good. It's all good stuff, but this is where it's good, man. Venus trine Chiron tells me that you have a natural healing effect on other people just because of your beauty. And this could be conventional. Oh, damn, why didn't I tell you that earlier? Hey, literally, like, this is another translation. So, Sun Venus says conventional beauty too. And that's in the eye of the beholder, but either way that goes, dude. When I said the Venus Chiron thing, not only can this reflect actual beauty within your person, energy as well, and your own charm and grace and goodness, and it's the love that courses through your spirit, quite literally, that uplifts the vibration of the world around you. And also another thing with a Venus trine Chiron, this aspect could say that you may kind of tend to attract broken people that need fixing and integration, and you're going to need to realize that as a healer, Kim, you can't heal anybody. Nobody can be healed by anybody but themselves, because the body's intelligence heals itself. And really what healers do is that they hold space for others to connect to their own healing. So you take no credit for healing anybody ever. But that being said, you may have experiences attracting people that need the recognition of their own gifts, and they need to be reminded that, they can do this thing their damn self. But as a Pisces, sometimes, you may like to serve, So just be careful that you help the people that want to help themselves and do help themselves, and know that it's not your responsibility to help those that don't. Just remember that. Don't forget that, okay? Because you have that strong Venus in your chart, and it rules the Mars in your chart, because it's Mars in Taurus. So just understand that Mars really represents the masculine energy as opposed to Venus's feminine. And this is your fundamental assertions and drive. This is going to be your energy and also how you aim at your goals. I say drive. I can also say sex drive if you want to psychoanalyze yourself through this too. But it's really just about how you jump and how you get out of bed and how you aim and how you assert yourself into life. And that's cool. You got Mars in the second house of Taurus. And this in itself is highly enjoyable and empowering, but also kind of a motherfucker in itself, dude. And I'll help you see like kind of a couple sides of the coin. That a Mars in Taurus tells me that you have very, sensual and beautiful and luxurious desires. And you do require a high level of comfort and stability within your life. And this is going to say that, you have a very determined and relentless streak within you whenever you decide what you want. And you can have a hard time detaching yourself from what you want, because a lot of times what you want is gendered on survival on a deep fucking level. And that's really something to just sit and think about and ponder on for real. But deeper than this, man, what I see is that, you are, material or security oriented, This can say that intrinsically you see value in things, and it will make you a more materialistic person. And that itself is literally neutral, neither good nor bad. It's just going to say that you really do want to maintain some security, and you're probably going to prioritize material possessions in this life to make sure that you are stable. So one of the journeys of Mars and Taurus is understanding your true value system, so that the possessions you own don't end up owning you, and that you actually have enjoyable things within your life as well, because this tells me that you appreciate all the beautiful things in life, whether it's good clothes with nice fabric, or good food, or good company, or good music, or dance, or song, whatever is beautiful, you see it. Even in the things that other people don't see the beauty in, like I said, that. But either way that goes, man, you know how to find the beauty in where the good things in life are. It's like a refined taste with a Mars and Taurus, and that's a really awesome thing. But the detriments of this, as we could probably consider, is that, sometimes your slow, steady, and methodical approach towards the things that you want, and being too risk averse, means that you calculate so long you don't even leap sometimes, man. And that's rough, man. So you're gonna need to make sure that you just sometimes get a little bit more trust in your impulse, and just know that a lot of times the impulses that you actually have come from within the body, and there are petitions from the soul to get you more security, and more peace, or arrive at a deeper level of value, understanding values on a deeper level. And that's really the quest, is to your quest with Mars and Taurus is to live a rich life and get richer and richer all the time. For real, dude, that's really what it's about. So, damn. On another note, it's just that with material security or comfort being a priority on an unconscious level, and the thing about Mars and Taurus people in the second, it's kind of the same thing, but I want to say that when I see these people, this feels like one of the most human things that I can find in a chart, is that, whenever you find the comfort you're looking for, the ambition can kind of halt as well, because what motivation do you have to keep going? When your material needs are met and secure. So this is talking about making your values and priorities bigger than yourself, and understanding your ethical and moral requirements to be your purpose and know your best self. Mars is the lower octave of Pluto, and remember that, okay? Mars is the lower octave of Pluto. So, it's bigger than just you, and I know you know this, and this is no means meant to be, an insult to your son. But yeah, just make sure that you have paradigms and systems that leverage you comfortably towards growth, and then just honor your own limits, because these are very much meant to protect you, okay? And you're going to need to really trust your body in this life, and being a healer is going to be really good for you to connect with the body, the second house. But I do want to just stress the importance of Mars in the second is going to say that actualizing your desires is going to actually look like enjoying the body and the pleasures that it holds for you as well. And I know I mentioned is it? Well, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah, pardon me, dude. Saving your time and attention. Mars trine Jupiter in your chart tells me that you're very competitive and striving, and you may not like to compete with others. You may like that. I don't know necessarily how that goes, but there's a strong satisfaction that you get from being able to manifest your goals. And deeper than this, it's a restless, unbounded energy that really propels you forward in this life. And when you have clarified your direction and purpose, you're unstoppable, and you're a high level of authority because of the choices that you make. And even if you're in a position where you don't feel like you're the authority, I just want to say the air of dignity that you carry throughout your being does actually help others see you as a positive influence through Mars trine Jupiter. And that in itself is a really beautiful thing. It's talking about inspired action. So just make sure that you keep that thinging, just keep making action that is inspired. Mars opposite Neptune is telling me that you're gonna have to slow yourself down every now and then, man, because you have big dreams that impose a lot of pressure on you, and you really probably take a lot of action sometimes engendered on those things. But this is telling me that some of your ideals that you try to manifest can only exist in the non-tangible realm, so that you're gonna have to really be more specific about what you want and where your limits are, as opposed to where you really just want them to be. And when you define your limits and really stick to them, and then work on mastering the step that you're on and expanding from that, man, I'm telling you, nothing is going to be able to stop you. And also, on another note, when I say focusing more on application and theory, I'm telling you that you need to be realistic, dude. You're going to need to choose to see the world and life and yourself for what it is, as opposed to what it could be. And then when you do this, life will give you the opportunities you've been looking for to present your more benevolent and altruistic and high-minded parts of your character, okay? But only in that order, not the other way around. And Mars trine Pluto in your chart, this is amazing. And I said Mars is the lower Pluto, Pluto is the higher Mars. And let me tell you that this means that you're an evolutionary soldier with this gift. You're a powerhouse of energy, and you really have a soul that burns for change at its core. And this is amazing, dude. I'm telling you, you have a very rich life. And when I keep saying this, the Taurus part of you may be like, does that mean wealth? Probably, dude. That may or may not be important to you in the grand scheme of your life, because I see that you're really looking for freedom and change, but money is a byproduct of living. But either way this goes, I want to say that, this tells me that you're a brave soul with the Mars Pluto, and you have this innate instinctive pull to confront yourself on a deeper level. And this means that your conscious and psyche really gets drawn to the parts of your character that need development and refining the most. And while this is not going to be necessarily easy all the time or painless, it is going to be fucking beautiful, and you are going to be on the right track. And you're just going to need to make sure that you realize that change is the constant, so you don't try to interrupt your growth unconsciously because of fear. Okay? This is a strong gift, and the gifts, again, with some neutrality, leverage the blue lines, try to be easier with the red lines. You get me? That's kind of the point. So, Jupiter trine Pluto kind of says the same thing, man, that, you're probably going to be rich in a lot of ways because you've always been rich in spirit. And I'll define Jupiter in just a second, but, your unconscious brings you towards evolution. That's as simple as that one goes, Jupiter trine Pluto. And you got a dignified Jupiter. So just like Jupiter being the king of the gods and it literally being the biggest planet, you got to know that where you find Jupiter within the chart, it's going to have a high level of size and magnitude, okay? And Jupiter broadly governs the meaning of our life. So you need to know that with Mercury being the left brain, Jupiter will govern the right. So this is how we form intuitive connections, and we learn in a circular manner and also through our inner planes. So with Jupiter in its home sign of Sagittarius, this tells me that in a lot of ways you're a leader, you are a sage, a mystic. You pull in a lot of information and wisdom from life, and you try to look at everything through a broad philosophical point of view and lens to try to extract from the things, condense, what the fuck does this mean? So you always ask why? Why? Oh God, why? Hey, if we don't ask the questions, we don't get the answers. And this is something that you've always known, is that you're not going to accept a surface level explanation of anything, because there's always more than meets the eye. And what else? And why not this? What about this? Alternative points of view can come to you naturally because this is a mutable fire sign, which in general talks about changing vision, mutating fire, sight. So Jupiter and Sagittarius people are striving and exuberant, and they love the journey and they love growth. And this is going to mean that you're eager to learn and highly excited to execute. And that's going to say that you got to slow down every now and then and pump the brakes, because this nervous, unbounded, reckless energy can make you become reckless, not just restless. Sometimes it can do too much, and you can jump out the window and leap without looking, and then, oh my God, there was concrete on the ground. Well, no shit. You should have looked, dude. Like, it's just like that, So you came up from the ground, right? Like, what did you expect? But yeah, Jupiter and Sagittarius people, I want to tell you that this means that you have this unbounded faith in life that just won't quit, man. Jupiter can show us where we feel the most in control and also where we've received the most luck from the cosmos. And while some people don't believe in luck, maybe a Jupiter retrograde person, I don't know if that's something that you resonate with, but luck can often be, opportunity meeting preparation or vice versa. But I want to say that on a more spiritual level, this is how the unconscious channels work themselves out through where our faith or assumptions lie, okay? And you having Jupiter in Sagittarius puts your faith in principles or the universe or spirit itself or the self itself. So this means that you're just a faith-filled person, man, and life can give you any certain circumstance, but you kind of have this tendency to rise above all of it. And this is going to mean that nothing can hold you down forever, man. You can get knocked down, but you're not going to stay there because you'll be bored as fuck. And you're like, what else am I going to do? And you're just going to get up and go. You gotta go, man. You're action oriented and nothing's going to stop you besides your motherfucking self. So it's important to remind yourself that, intermittently it's good that you do that. Stop yourself and enjoy the journey. Look at the view, smell the flowers, appreciate growth. Because growth is a two-way process of expansion and contraction, and you can kind of overexert yourself in the expansion part. For real. I'm not kidding, dude. You need to realize that you expand to learn, and you contract to integrate. And you need a lot of fucking rest. For real. Especially as a Pisces rising. This is the ruler of your chart, by the way. Jupiter is the other planet that rules Pisces, because we didn't always have the telescope to find Neptune. So you got a modern and an ancient ruler in your chart. So Jupiter is your striving planet, your guiding planet. It really makes you want to be a reflection of your purpose and your truth. And with you having Jupiter in the 10th house, you understand the calling is a very important part of life, and that legacy outlives us. And this in itself is where you want to make your impact. And this gives me the vibe that you have a lingering fear of unactualizing your potential, or leaving it unactualized, I should say. And what you got to realize is that time and space and energy is unlimited resource. So you actually can't waste something that's unlimited. And also, unlimited potential, which is what you have, is actually way too much potential for anybody to actualize. And I know that your intrinsic and pragmatic and objective way of seeing the world with this being in the 10th house is going to say that I don't actually have unlimited potential. I beg to differ, man, But either way that goes, like I said, how do we optimize the gift that is life? By being practical, procedural, and systematic, which is something that you're kind of gifted with this being in the 10th house. But I do want to say that, intermittently, you're going to need to make sure that you detach yourself from the version of yourself that you see yourself as through your career, calling, and legacy, or your business, and realize that you make these things that don't make you, okay? Like, you may be too focused on your goals, too focused on your career, too focused on how you want to be recognized in this life, and this in itself can actually make it a little bit harder for you to do the thing that you want to do, which is something to think about. It's kind of weird, and it sounds almost redundant to say that, but I mean what I say. That sometimes you just got to have more fun being yourself, dude, and not need other people's recognition, and realize that as a Sun conjunct Venus and a Jupiter up in this bitch here, you need to know that your own praise, recognition, and acknowledgement is all that you ever need, and it has to be enough for you. It literally has to be. And either way that goes, Jupiter trine your Pluto tells me you're a rich soul. For reasons I've emphasized so much, I wish I could talk your off about it all damn day. But we got to go forward and talk about Saturn. And Saturn in your house is in the 11th house of Capricorn. And just understand that Saturn governs our restrictions in life, and it has a giant ring around it, and it's the last planet we can see without the aid of the telescope. So those same energies are going to show us that it correlates to boundaries. And boundaries are meant to protect us, help us understand objectivity, and help us build in the world. But when we find Saturn in the chart, this is going to show up and find us, it's going to show up in the place where we feel the most restricted, okay? And Saturn is really going to concern itself with our energy or approach towards responsibility, duties, and obligations. And in a more Pisces way, a more Jupiter way, I can tell you that Saturn is the structure of your consciousness in this life, okay? And that's really weird. So it's going to mean that this is going to be how you see reality and how you gain your structure within it. And simultaneously, this is going to be where you find your fears. And this is going to be where you're going to end up working in life to get the things that you desire, and also create that structure around the fear and get some stability, and you can be responsible or neglectful in Saturn's domain. So just be mindful that your Saturn is very dignified, and this is a strong place to have it. Having Saturn in the 11th house of Capricorn. Saturn in the 11th house of Capricorn tells me that you're very objective and pragmatic in the way that you see yourself in the world. And this means that the ball is in your court, man, because to understand the rules of the game lets you put yourself in an advantageous position. And this is why Saturn loves this, as an earth sign. This is where it's home, Capricorn. And the challenges that you're going to need to really understand, a lot of them kind of parallel the 10th house Jupiter, because Saturn is the 10th sign. I digress. The challenges is going to be being too pessimistic, too austere, or too afraid of responsibility, authority, failure. You're going to need to know that fears can be a motivating factor as well, and they probably are a strong motivator for you. But again, if that's the case, this begs you to understand that you need to be diligent and not desperate, because desperation creates a nervous energy that infects all of your work, and this can actually create, restarts. The shortcuts you look for can interrupt you. You can get the result you don't intend to just because, your energy is too unbounded. So I'm telling you, sometimes you're going to have to just slow yourself down a little bit and trust your own inner authority is a Saturn and Capricorn thing as well. Understand your own inner authority, that it comes from within, and authority exists without true, but at the same time, it's like it goes right back to the same principle. And there's a principle that if you understand the rules of the game, you can put yourself in an advantageous position. Don't hate the player, hate the game. You feel me? And don't even hate the game. Love the game because it's a game. You feel me? That's what it is. And the interesting thing about your Saturn, with it being in the 11th house, that this also speaks to me about somebody who really does value their independence, not just their authority, but their independence and originality. And you also called to get involved with humanity in a way that is truly beneficial for everybody. You're a true humanitarian at heart, but you also kind of afraid of getting involved in that way because you think that involving yourself with the group is going to interact or interfere with your character. You feel like you'll suffer a loss of yourself by putting yourself in a position of sacrificing for the betterment of all. And that's not necessarily true or fair. So you've got to be mindful of that, man, that this is one of the coolest Saturns to have because you got a foot in order and you got a foot in chaos. And that's literally where you need to be to grow. But you just got to make sure you're not focused too much on either one of those things to where you feel like you can't make the changes you want to make because, you fear being opposed or persecuted or not just opposed, what's the word? It's like, it's not even opposed, oppressed, yeah. You fear being oppressed by authority in any circumstance or paradigm. So you really want to be free, but at the same time, having so much unbounded freedom lacks meaning and structure. You feel me? So, hey, it's like, when life is too much chaos, you need responsibility and order. And when life is too much oppression and tyranny and order, you're going to need some chaos and change and liberation. And you're going to need to really find that balance between those two and realize your own innate goodness, authority, and inspiration, and then meet the world in an honest and objective way so you can really apply these to a way that is beneficial for yourself and everybody, and that you can truly just build your legacy through every interaction in the world. No matter who it is, no matter if it's a stranger on the street. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is to master this energy, because Capricorn represents mastery. And this tells me that with everything else in your chart kind of adding context, that all you need to do is hold the high vibration, dude, because you automatically rub the fuck off on everybody else, So on another note, man, I think there was something else I needed to tell you about this. You need to have that deep love for the world that you love for yourself, because if you don't love this world, you're going to have a hard time interacting with it and a hard time taking responsibility for it because of the paradigms and assumptions not being on match, cognitive dissonance, you know? So just be careful for that, because this strong-ass Saturn tells me that heavy is the head that wears the crown, and the strongest soldiers get the hardest battles, for real. You know, so the way that you see the world is very austere and very objective, and what I want to say is neutral, but this objective and linear and deductive and reductionist way of looking at the world can also be kind of depressing, man, when you leave it unchecked. So you just need to watch out for that, because, you know, what you focus on has the tendency, again, to expand within your mind, man. So if you keep focusing on the negativity, I promise I know what you're going to get. And you change your mind, you change your whole life. That's another thing about Saturn in the 11th house, is that you have to find freedom through the mind and not freedom from the mind. And that's deep, you know. And Uranus making a quincunx to Saturn kind of says the same thing, man. You know, that you sometimes don't understand what your true responsibilities are, because you see yourself as a force of liberation and change, and also you need a high level of recognition and celebration and acknowledgement for what you do and are, and sometimes you don't even know what work you're actually doing yourself, and this in itself makes you like, hey bro, it hurts being misunderstood, but who can say they really understand themselves? You know, so this ends up being one of the more persistent difficulties on your journey, this Uranus in conjunct your Saturn, which is saying that it takes lifetimes to get to know thyself. And if you want to argue from a broad cosmological perspective, that's all we will ever do in existence, ever in any life, you know? So you're doing a good job, my dude. And you just need to be recognizing all the expansion and exploration that you're making through your character, through your interaction with the world too. Because this is highly inspiring and motivating, and you might not always know how to apply it, but when you realize that your soul itself is being enriched by these experiences, you'll realize that you are never missing the mark, okay? And that's something to think about. And, you know, I could talk your off about all these angles all day forever, but again, the most important thing is the relationship you build with them. So talking about Uranus, you need to understand that this planet is really your freedom, and it exists beyond the shores of our finite perception as humans. So we need a telescope to see it, and this is going to really represent changing the consciousness and arriving at the highest use of the mind, or Mercury. And Uranus represents the sky within us, and it has the tendency to raise the vibration of everything that it touches, and it's really where your unique originality and authenticity shines. And, you know, we actually experience deconditioning through this planet in our own lives, and this is where we peel back the layers of limitation Saturn imposes on us, so that we can really be the essence of who we are, with Uranus in the 6th house of Leo at 18 degrees. This is going to say that, my dude, you are a bright, shiny star, and you really have this warmth for life that is dynamic and infectious, and it just pervades all that you interact with. But consequently, because this is how you get to know yourself on a deep spiritual level, you need a lot of recognition for your character, because you know unconsciously that you are special. And I'm not exaggerating, I'm not tooting your horn or just inflating the ego. I'm getting past the sun, Saturn. We're talking to the soul in transpersonal octaves of your inner planets and saying that you are special, okay? And that you really understand yourself, maybe unconsciously, as the sole creator of your own destiny. And, you know, there can be mental crisis in your life, or emotional crisis, whenever you don't see yourself as recognized for who you are. And that in itself is rough as fuck, man, because you're kind of painfully aware of who you are. And being able to be unseen, unacknowledged for this makes the paradigm that you're not special. And then, you know, you can kind of create with this being in the 6th house, it kind of feels like persecution, or like being victimized by your circumstance too, when you feel like you're out of control, you know? So I'm telling you, man, it's like, it's about confronting the paradigm of who you are and really just loving and appreciating every part of it. And your life will be naturally fulfilling as a Leo in the Uranus Leo. So the thing about the 6th house is this is really an inner brilliance thing, man. Like, the 6th house governs where our focus goes, and then the Uranus really upgrades this to 1,000 and says that, you know, your conscious awareness is instinctively brought towards things that need refinement and optimization. So you're a self-improvement machine and a tireless worker, and you're very fucking productive when your eye for detail doesn't slow you down to the point of making advancement difficult, you know? But either way that goes, man, you really are a machine of improvement. And every now and then you're going to need to shut this machine the fuck off and say, I don't need any fixing. I'm okay. I'm good. I actually like this. Actually, I love this. This is perfect. That's the attitude you're going to want to embody because, your paradigms are really set on giving and service. That is going to be Leo, 6th house. And the thing about this, dude, is if you give for too long and are too unacknowledged in the gifts that you give, you can unconsciously start to impose shames and guilts upon yourself that are artificial and poisonous. And then the paradigm becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where relationships in life lack the reciprocity you give, and then you become a victim to life circumstances. And that shit fucking, it sucks, man. So I just want to say that you're free in your mind right now, because I can feel in my right hand my middle finger being squeezed, the Saturn finger. I digress, dude. Like, thanks for teaching me about myself, because that's never happened before. But hey, you're a gifted individual and you're very talented and skilled, and you really need to shine as bright as you possibly can and really give yourself for every acknowledgement for every step of the practice. Like, you're a true perfectionist, and you got to realize perfection doesn't exist, and it's a constant process. So let's say you want to be a painter or something. You got to be able to paint a stick figure on canvas that looks like a 4th grader did it and be like, I'm fucking proud. That's the energy that you need to be on, Because again, dude, it's like, if you want to be Michelangelo, you need to be able to appreciate that sketch drawing to be able to appreciate the Sistine Chapel, okay? You feel me? So let's talk about Neptune in the chart and just understand that this is the ocean within us, and this is the higher octave of Venus, and this really represents how we long to unify with the source of our own creation. This is our imagination, our dreams, what else? You can lose yourself in there, man. This is the deep water, the illusions that we build, the veil. This is going to be how we create our sacrifices in our life, and also where we experience our suffering. And this is also going to represent how we undo the self. And that can be a lot of ways. This can be through like meditation, magic, imagination, devotion, religion, lack thereof, addiction, devotion and service, whatever it has to be. But either way it goes, man, Neptune is a slow orbit and it moves with the culture. And the sign placement is really going to show the dream that you wish to manifest, and the house is where. And there's a parallel with Scorpio 8th house. But the thing about having a Scorpio Neptune is that your imagination is deep and penetrating, man. And also, you want to have control over your godlike nature. And that in itself is scary, exciting, exhilarating, and confusing. And this means that, hey, your mission in life, Kim, if I want to make it simple, is divination of true will. And you have these gifts. And when I say divination, I mean what I say. Divination means communing with the divine. And the word that the image that comes to mind when people hear that a lot of times with divination is tarot or astrology or cards. Yes, all that. You need that shit, dude. So I'm pleasured and pleased, and I feel honored to read your astrology as a tool of divination. But that is, again, why my sole intention is to build your relationship with this, so you can end up scrying the depths of your soul and confront your imagination, even down to the part that is fearful and vindictive and angry and evil, and cleansing the soul of any corruptions to the point where you can vibrate true unconditional love in its most pure and responsible and powerful form with the most wisdom at all times. And I'm burning shaman incense for you on that journey, for real. Because it is a journey, dude. And I'm telling you, like, a simple translation, keyword translation to Neptune in the 8th house of Scorpio is like, well, we know that you're a deep and psychic and spiritual person. And the way that we've hit this like 3 times, 4 times, 5 times damn near through aspects in this rules your chart, I don't think I gotta tell you what Neptune and Scorpio in the 8th house really does for you, man. But I want to tell you what it needs you to do is you need to penetrate the depths of your illusions in this life to come into alignment with the soul. That's simply what the fuck this says, okay? And also, blessed be, you have a goddamn retrograde Neptune. And this means that you're fucking terrified of getting lost in this life, man. And illusions and fantasies and deception kind of sets your radar on red alert. high alert, red alarm. I don't know what you call it, but you see what I'm saying, man. You are fucking afraid to get lost. Ooh, buddy. So this in itself is going to say that you value truth more than damn near anything in life, and to have love, there must be truth. And that in itself is something to think about. You know, that's true will. How the goddess and God unite, and then the air goes into the water, and the chalice go to the grail, and those unite, and then boom. And then, hey, cool stuff. So what's even fucked up, even more fucked up, dude, is that Pluto rules your Neptune, and Pluto really represents the higher Mars. So if you think about the highest manifestation of instinct being evolution itself, that tells you exactly what the fuck this is going to do for you. And this is where your soul needs to make changes, and this is going to be where you experience your obsessions and compulsions through your sign placement and house position, and also where you experience the most fundamental changes. So Pluto Virgo in the 6th house conjunct the descendant tells me that your soul feels empowered by work and a bunch of other things. It evolves through work. And, my dad is a Pluto Virgo generation, and I've got to read for a lot of these people, and I've seen that, work can be highly soul enriching, but it can feel soul crushing in the process of doing that. But either way, it gets enriched. That these people kind of have this unconscious pull to make a life of meaningful service. And this in itself is going to mean that they take high pains to sacrifice, and also that they carry a lot of unconscious guilt. Hey, yeah. Let that sink in, man. It's a generational thing. So I'm telling you, it's like a shit ton of people on the planet with this are collectively trying to work this energy out through the earth. And you're doing a good job, soldier. But you're going to need to really give love to yourself on your deep being, and open the sacral and open the root. And really open the root more specifically, because you can't, it's the hierarchy. It's that pyramid, foundation. So on another note, your focus is keen and apt, and also this is going to mean that, you're an intensely productive person who is very hard at working, but also kind of nervous and nitpicky, and sometimes things that shouldn't set you off really do, man. And it's like, don't sweat the small stuff, and you may kind of find and realize at some point it's all small stuff, man. It's always been small stuff. Especially with you having a 6th house Uranus, I'm telling you, man, the fact that is like priority is the only priority, and when you make a choice to focus on what you need at the right time, and everything just works itself out, man. There's no reason to stress or worry ever, for real. Like, for real, I'm telling you, man. Pluto in Virgo tells me this may be something you've had to work on, but you've always had the gift of inner peace within you always, man. And this makes you have a natural healing effect on other people. But also, Pluto in the 6th house can say that this axis of focus and service and guilt and these things that come with it, sometimes you can manifest weird health crises, and I think you even told me something about this, like you literally ended up getting hospitalized because of stress, I think. And dude, like that's a 6th house Pluto thing for sure. So get that Reiki energy, get those crystals, touch the earth, breathe deeper, gain your composure. Do whatever you got to do to find peace within your mind right now, man, and relinquish control over things that you think you need to have control over. Surrender is really one of those arts that you're going to be mastering in this life. And blessed be, dude, you're a Pisces rising. So I want to say that you kind of got some of that work cut out for you, okay? So when I see that you have Pluto on the descendant, yeah, you're going to evolve through these relationships as well, man. And just try your best not to seek yourself outside of yourself, because this is going to say also you need to become intimately aware of what you are and what you're not, and really be honest in the assessment of that, so that your relationships can be built on a place of abundance or true need, and they can be both, quite honestly. But every Pluto has a polarity point, and that's the easiest way to understand what it is that your journey is about. And the 12th house Pisces for you, my friend, is really going to be about merging with the universe and surrendering to God, the will, yourself, whatever you want to define it as, man. It's everything. If it's everything, it's also no thing. It's all things, It's the source, and that's what you're here to. You probably want to go the fuck home as a Cancer, quite honestly. And that's really beautiful. So I just want to say that you've always been home. Home is where the heart is, and you're just gonna have to realize that and relinquish and surrender all these pains, anxieties, and nervousnesses back to the universe. Give it the fuck back, dude. The universe said, why the hell are you still holding on to this shit, man? You borrowed it. You've had it long enough. Overdue library ass book. Give it back. It's time to let it go. So that's cool in itself. And the nodes are going to be how you carry out your Pluto journey. And then we'll talk about Chiron integrating you through these things, man. The nodes are an axis in the chart, south and north. And you can't understand where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And the south node is going to represent your past and your previous incarnations, also the things that you bring in this lifetime through soul or emotional memory. And they're going to be familiar and easy and gifted to you, and they might be satisfying and fulfilling, but the more you grow in these areas, the more the comfort zone shrinks, and then the gift can feel unsatisfying, and you know you're destined for more. And the North Node would also be the logical conclusion of the time and space that we incarnated. Real shit. So the South Node in Pisces, hey. Dude, hey. You got a deep imagination, man, and an intuitive grasp of the fundamentals that other people are never going to fathom. And this means that your life is deep and layered and merged, and this is going to be calling you to make sure you take control of your attitude, because this is really one of the only things that you actually have control over in this life, you know. This tells me that as an old soul, you may be kind of a tired soul and have these beautiful dreams and imaginations that beg to be birthed into existence, but at the same time, you know, being so soulful and deep and compassionate and wise, surrendering is not that hard for you, you know. And I know I'd said that sometimes it's going to be something that you need to do in your quest, but sometimes you're going to need to dial the fuck back on it, because, you know, you're called for a life of meaningful service and you have beautiful dreams that would benefit everybody. Yes or no? So this means with you having Virgo North Node, you have a life of meaningful service, work. And this means that this is beautiful because you love the work, and the work is fulfilling and it validates your existence, and it also is the procedure to building your dreams. So the thing that you need to know about your nodes in your chart, dude, is that the more specific and practical and thorough you can be in your life, the faster the universe moves you forward. You need to avoid retreating into any escapist fantasies or illusions, and then just be diligent and consistent. And then real success is for you going to come in the form that you can systematically catalog and replicate and understand intuitively and intricately every part of the process, and therefore be able to duplicate your effort, okay? And also, if we look at this through the nodes and the houses, this tells me that you're very self-aware with the first house, and you're very, you're the center of your own life and your universe. And that's great, because we need to be able to be this, to be centered and whole and give from fullness. But at the same time, it's like, it seems like you probably mastered you. And that's a lie, right? Because mastery of self is a perpetual process. But this tells me that you figured out, you know, and it's okay to admit that, you know, and you at least know how to survive, how to thrive, how to get what you want when it comes to you. But you come here to learn about relationships. You come here to learn about the art of compromise, and you come here to learn about true reciprocity and giving and balance, fairness and justice. So you are here to find freedom through relationships and not from them, and learn how to truly serve in a relationship in a way that is co-independent and not codependent, okay? You hear what I'm saying? Like, I hope that's making sense. And the only thing that would ever hold you back in this process is the moon, because this makes a square to your north and south node, which really just saying that you got to find peace within your own heart, keep the heart open to the water element, aka unconditional love. And then when you do that, nothing's gonna motherfucking stop you, Kim. I'm telling you, man. Sometimes the heart can get hurt in life, and I see it like a dirty cup when that happens. You know, put the cup under the faucet, turn the hot water on. It may take some time, but all the dirt will come out. It may hurt a little bit too, but pain makes strength. And you are blessed with a lot of pain with your Lilith-ass son. So I just want to say that I see a soldier in you, and you're a motherfucking... Speaking of pain, dude, good Lord. Kim, are you okay? I love you, and I'm kind of playing with you. But, you know, the Lilith thing, we talked about that earlier, kind of ripped the Band-Aid off at the beginning. But, hey, I know this is the moment you've been waiting for. I saved the best for last, dude. That Chiron in the nodes, you were wondering what is those about? You got Chiron in the Ascendant, dude. I couldn't even bring it in the first chapter because it's too much, quite honestly. Chiron is the asteroid that orbits between Saturn and Uranus. So you need to think about this as the metaphysical bridge from the inner planets to the outer planets. And as a consequence, this is actually the orb that governs our spiritual awakening and our integration of the higher self and true will. And this in itself is beautiful, but because Saturn and everything past is on the left, if you think about it, Chiron is also paradigm shattering and ego destroying. And that in itself fucking hurts, man. You talk about an ego death, yeah. Chiron and Pisces, man. Chiron and Pisces. So let me tell you this, man. This is an orb. It's a part of your being, but it exists beyond the shores of consensus reality, aka Saturn. So sometimes this only manifests as pain because, again, it's begging more awareness to be birthed into existence. So sometimes it isolates the fuck out of us where we don't really understand how we can interact with the world through this energy, like a bucket that has a leak in it and you don't know where to patch it, shit like that, you know? So what I've seen in Chiron through my practice is that the ruling planet will get amplified quite a lot. So what you need to know is that your Jupiter and your Neptune are going to be very strong in your life because of this Chiron. And you probably have a stronger connection to them than other planets because of Chiron your whole life here, okay? So Chiron and Pisces is going to make somebody intuitively and intensely philosophical and wise and thirst for meaning and transcendental understanding of life. And you really want to know God and be God, but consequently you kind of fear God because you understand the ability to be transformed by it. And still there's this deep surrender to the all, but at the same time, you know, your willingness to surrender can put you in circumstances that you don't actually understand the meaning of. And this in itself can be kind of painful and hard to deal with because, you know, you really are looking for a reason for everything, even your suffering, down to that point. And sometimes, you know, with you being so spiritual and so deep and so in tune with everything, man, you can kind of misjudge your problems as other people's problems and vice versa, misjudge theirs as yours by being too empathic and compassionate. So this is going to say that a part of your challenge is learning how to put the appropriate limits on these things, because you really want to help heal people, man. And what you got to understand is, like, where do you heal yourself? And then you'll be able to heal others through this gift. And this is the 12th house, Pisces, or you could say the ascendant. So the thing about the Chiron and Pisces is, like, you're a deep dreamer and have a vivid imagination, but as a consequence of how deep and vivid this is, you're also scared to go after your dreams, and you're afraid of your imagination. You're afraid of wide open spaces and deep waters and stuff. And, you know, while you love the idea of surrendering and connecting with the universe, this is also the hardest thing for you to do, because to surrender to the universe requires you to relinquish control. And that in itself can put you into the state of non-being and, you know, eradicate everything that you think that you've been building, you know. And you're going to have to confront the fear of loss, man, because if you come from the universe and source, you'll return back to it, right? And you've known this your whole entire life. So this in itself should give you a fearlessness to really approach life in full confidence of your creativity. You know, so I just want to say that with you wanting to live a meaningful life with this North Node in Virgo, you're going to need to be very careful with the way that you listen to your mind, and just make sure that you're practical and let your dreams speak through you, and really know that it's all about unconditional love, Neptune, you know, the energy of transcending and merging with each other that you really want to bring into being. And sometimes you may kind of have a hard time understanding who you are with this being on your first house, because you really do need interaction with others to really understand who you are. You know, so sometimes it's hard for you to follow the beat of your own drum because you like to understand if other people would ride along to it. You really want them to, right? So it's like sometimes rather than playing your drum, you're waiting for other people to play their flute, you know? And that in itself is not inspiring them, you know? You got to create that music, dude. Pisces energy. So metaphors are literal. I don't know. You'd be the one to tell me. You be the judge. But get comfortable following the beat of your own drum and seeing yourself in the mirror that you provide for yourself, and understand that this is the biggest gift that you'll give the world, because other people in this world do not know who they are. And some people spend their whole lives and don't figure it out. But you, my friend, have the gift of perspective and insight, and also deep empathy and intuition, and you can really help other people meet themselves on a level that they have not understood yet. And this in itself is a strong gift, so you are going to need to realize that giving is receiving, and that you can't give with expectation. You need to give because it's the right thing to do, and don't expect things of other people, because when you expect things of other people, you can feel betrayed. And betrayal is the hardest thing that you can deal with, because it's going to make it hard for you to trust, and you can't love without trust. And when you have a hard time trusting other people, you're going to need to realize that deeper than everything else, it's the fact that you don't trust yourself, man. I mean that with all the love in my heart, that you are meant to give because it's the right thing to do, but only give when you discriminate and discern that it's appropriate to give. And once you give, rather than expecting What you're going to need to do, Kim, is just watch what people do with the gift. And the thing that they do with your gift is going to help you reassess if you're meant to continue giving, to know if you're celebrated, appreciated, if that gift is being utilized in its intended function. And if it's not, boundaries, man. Because this is the challenge, man. You know, you have undying, unlimited, unparalleled compassion, empathy, and conscience for this world. And I'm telling you, man, you need to figure out where is the appropriate limit for compassion, empathy, and conscience. And that in itself is going to free you from so much bullshit, I'm telling you, man. And on another note, the way that you share this gift with people is helping them understand themselves, helping them find the connection to source and release the suffering that life has imposed upon them. Because a lot of people feel totally isolated, abandoned, and betrayed by the universe itself. And this is going to be something that you can actually help them a lot with. And also figure out their divine will with this being on the ascendant. So that's broad, and I need to keep it that broad because your Jupiter and Sag can fill in the blanks, okay? But on another note, I did kind of mention this earlier, that moon, I meant to save it to the last as one of your growth aspects, but I guess it's good to remind yourself now, man, that especially with Chiron and Pisces amplifying Neptune, the fact that you got that sesquiquadrant from Neptune to the moon tells me that you have a strong emotional nature and this really need to merge and sacrifice and kind of like transcend yourself through other people in your life, through your desires and relationships. And that in itself is not always been healthy, but you do be learning, man. You be learning the hard way sometimes. So I just want to say, be graceful to yourself, because sometimes, you know, you do be the one, you tend to exaggerate. And, you know, that in itself brings you to deeper levels of possibilities within life itself, but sometimes it can bring you away from reality. So just watch out for that, okay? And this is kind of like, I see it as your marble block, you know, and you're chipping away a beautiful sculpture. Sun and Venus are making a quintus out of Saturn, you know, so I just want to say that as a person, you do take great pains to be ostensible and show up and be the person that you want to be in life, but also the lingering nervousness that you hold beneath your character can sometimes make it hard for you to really play the role that you want to play, the angle that you got from Saturn to the Sun. So, confront your fears of responsibility head on, and then really, I cannot stress this enough, Kim, understand the priority of priority so that you don't overburden yourself with the shit that you don't need, even when it feels like it's responsibilities that no one else asked you for besides yourself in the universe. You need to ask yourself, am I really treating myself like the higher self? You know? So, you got this, dude. I see you on your journey. I hope this provided you some clarity and meaning. I'm a 7th house Jupiter, and I learn a lot through your chart, dude. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're a strong soul, man. That Saturn angle I just said, I know that puts a lot of dynamic pressure on you to really have as much control as you can in your life. And I kind of felt like as I was wrapping it up, I didn't say enough about this, dude. It's like your fears and your ego drives can kind of get in each other's way. So just watch out for that thing, man. And the more you kind of sit there and think about it and put it in your life, you'll realize that trusting yourself more and trusting life more is honestly one of the more consistent things that you just need to be doing in your day-to-day life, you know? Because I know I've given you a lot to think about, and I think that's one thing that can be emphatic and very easy to apply. So I really do appreciate you so much, dude. Shine as bright as you MF can, because this Venus-Sun thing that you got going on in your solar system, we need this now more than ever, Kim. I'm telling you, man. And it's so weird to tell a Pluto Virgo this, but I feel like your life is just starting, dude. You know, I know you've orbited the sun a few times, but I feel like literally your life is just starting with the transits and the time that we're going through right now. So blessed be, blessed we. Because the thing is, man, think about the significance of Pluto. Never mind. Yeah, watch your transits, because I could talk your ear off all day. Build that relationship and then study the map, and then you will never be lost. Blessed be, blessed we. All the love in the world to you, Kim. See ya.